You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2691, Chapter 2691, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath 2. Chapter 2691, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath 2. Boom! The seventh floor shook violently, and the world was turned upside down. A moment later, old Zhou's face disappeared from the seventh floor without a trace. At this moment, in the outside world, half-emperors appeared one after another, and ancient existences appeared one after another. Blood rained down from the sky. The peerless experts looked at White Jade Gate, which was shaking violently. The heaven hunting list continued to send in messages, but there was no response. At this moment, all the passageways were broken. Yes, all the passageways. Under the intense shaking, all the passageways were broken. Not a single one was left. At this moment, all the invincible and ancient existences in the area were in a daze. Was all of them dead? The intense tremors caused the entire heavenly battlefield to tremble. The entire starry sea was sweeping through the heavens and earth. Huge waves crashed into the heavens and earth, and a rain of blood covered the heavens and earth. They're dead, someone said with great difficulty. His face was filled with shock and pain. Were they all dead? Not a single one was left. Because all of the passageways had been broken. Less than 1 in 10. No, they were all wiped out. What exactly happened inside? On the human side, the great Xia King and the great Zhou King were also dumbfounded and shocked. Were they all dead? Not a single one was left. No, impossible. How could it be possible? The great Qin King was still inside. He wouldn't die, he wouldn't. The great Xia King looked at the great Zhou King and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He said with great difficulty, "No, nothing happened, I didn't feel the fall of Long Wu." That was his bloodline, so he could more or less sense it. He wasn't dead. He shouldn't be dead. He wasn't sure. Because the starry sky mansion covered up a lot of things. The group of people looked at the heaven hunting list one after another. Yes, the heaven hunting list. The heaven hunting list seemed to be able to record some life aura. He shouldn't be dead, right? They looked at it and suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Some of the names were still there. Then, they shouldn't be dead, right? At this moment, an ancient existence said in a soft voice, "Are they all dead? Or are they still alive? But, the tunnel is broken and they can't return." In the heaven hunting pavilion, heaven overseeing Marquis was silent for a long time. He said, "Many of them should be dead. There's been a huge change in the starry sky mansion, causing the tremors to be intense. The tunnel is broken, and there are still some people who are probably alive. However, the tunnel can't be restored. They will still die. They will be trapped and die in it." The moment these words were said, some people who had some hope once again fell into despair. Then how do we restore the tunnel? It won't. We can wait for another tide. Silence. However, there was a faint smile on Invincible's face. He didn't feel any discomfort. For example, the immortal race. What was there to feel uncomfortable about? It was pretty good. The immortal race had been completely wiped out before this huge change. Now, it was pretty good. With this huge change, all the races were unable to return. Those who were still alive were doomed. Since that was the case, what was there to be afraid of? Let's all lose together. It was pretty good. 5 immortal kings had died in the celestial race, and there were quite a few other races as well. There were 5 immortal kings, 7 demon kings, and as for the human race, it was probably not 4. The Daemon King seemed to have entered as well, and 5 of them had died. This time, the group of people felt at ease. There were still people looking in the direction of the ancient city, but it was still quiet. At this moment, they did not know if Suyu had really died in there. Did Suyu really go? At this moment, everyone wasn't too sure. If he went in, Suyu would definitely die. However, the ancient city was still incomparably peaceful. It seemed that they could only wait and see. With a sigh, an ancient existence said softly, "The starry palace that has been continuously open for countless years, could it really be ruined just like that? Can the next tide be opened again?" No one could be sure. This time, the change was too great. The key was that each race had suffered heavy losses, and dozens of invincible had died. Someone said softly, "Let's wait for another half a month. When the opening of the manor officially ends, maybe someone has a little bit of hope and can be teleported out." The group of people were silent. Was there? Who knew? However, everyone still wanted to know what had happened and why the consequences were like this. The casualties were too heavy. In the past tens of thousands of years, this was the first time they had paid the price of being completely annihilated to explore the Starry Mansion. The key point was that this time, there would be an extremely large number of experts and they would be unrivaled by dozens of them. If they were from the same clan, other than the top 5 great clans, the other clans would be completely annihilated. 7th floor. Within the boundary wall. In a huge house, a group of people held their breaths and didn't dare to make a sound. It was extremely quiet. The faint sounds of breathing indicated that everyone wasn't calm. The group of people looked at Suyu with an extremely strange expression. Wasn't your killing move too terrifying? Bai Feng and the others had strange and curious expressions. What was going on outside? Yun Chen was also at a loss. One had just attained Dao, so no one asked what was going on. Also, what was happening outside? I had attained Dao, but I was immediately dragged in. Also, was this the Great Qin King? Why did it feel like? It didn't feel like it. He was too weak and too unstable. At this moment, the Great Qin King's eyes were wide open. He didn't have the demeanor of an expert who could sweep across the heavens and suppress them. What the hell? Bai Feng was just about to finish when 7 or 8 people shushed him. Shut up. Bai Feng was speechless. He felt a little bored and helpless. What? After an unknown amount of time, the Great Qin King suddenly said, "Probably left." As he spoke, he looked at Suyu. "Who is he?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2692, Chapter 2692, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath 3. Chapter 2692, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath 3. Old Zhou. The Great Zhou King. A group of people were shocked. Suyu said calmly, "No, my other friend is not clear-headed. He can only come to save me at the critical moment. He will appear with a shout. He lives in the Starry Manor. If I shout for him, he will appear. However, he will kill indiscriminately. Therefore, I won't shout for him unless it's a dead end." Your friend? The crowd was stunned. Are you sure? Is this person really your friend? Don't tease me. Suyu's expression was calm. He's an ancient character. Even before the human emperor unified the world, Zhou was his greatest opponent. Later on, Zhou was defeated and was imprisoned in the Starry Manor. I met him by accident. When Zhou was clear-headed, he could communicate with me a little, but he would often fly into a rage. In that case, I was unable to deal with him. Hence, at the critical moment, I was helpless. After saying that, Suyu sighed again. L still wanted to bring old Zhou out this time to help me sweep through the heavens. Now, it seems that it's going to be a little difficult. The group of people were stunned. Kong 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 and Sky Devouring, these great demons, all swallowed their saliva. Was this for real? You still want to bring him out? Oh my God! Such a terrifying fellow, if you bring him out, the heavens will definitely fall into chaos. Countless people will die and countless realms will be destroyed. Such a terrifying existence. Everyone might not believe everything Suyu said, but they didn't dare to not believe it. At this moment, Bai Feng asked in surprise, "What, old Zhou? Suyu, what's wrong with all of you?" Suyu didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at Bai Feng with a strange expression. "Teacher, why are you here?" "One activated my cells and came in to study." "What's wrong?" "Alright, you're really good." Suyu was also speechless. Even his teacher, Suyu, was impressed. Amazing. Why did he activate this place? This was probably the interior of old Zhou's cells. That was the only reason why old Zhou didn't look for him. This time, if it wasn't because he felt that this place was safe, Suyu wouldn't have shouted Mountain Tai. It was too dangerous. Even if the boundary wall was closed, Suyu was still extremely terrified at that moment. It was too terrifying. At this moment, the atmosphere gradually became strange. There were many different races in this place. Kong Kong Kong, Sky Devouring, Zhouyue, Fated Race, Five Elements Race, and Undead Race. Yes, there were all undead. Xingyu stood coldly at the side, looking down at those who were squatting or sitting. Everyone, including the great Qin King, was looking at Suyu, the courtesan. How did you manage to hook up with so many people? What should we do now? The great Qin King was very weak, but the humans were very strong. With Yun Chen and the great Qin King, there were 6 undefeatable humans. Of course, a few were injured, but Yun Chen, Zhou Polong, and Zhu Tianfang were still intact. However, there were many races that were undefeatable. What should we do now? Should we turn on them and kill them? Furthermore, the great Qin King's injuries were too severe. At this moment, the few humans that were invincible were struggling in their hearts. If this news were to leak out, it would be a huge problem. What should they do? Everyone looked towards Suyu. This was because everyone had gathered together because of him. Suyu was calm. He waved his hand and a shadow flew over from Zhu Tianfang's side. The little furball said happily, "It's fragrant, we can go together." Suyu ignored it. The little furball could not be restrained by Zhu Tianfang. Suyu opened his mouth and said, "Release Huangjiu." Also, where is Teacher Lu? Zhu Tianfang released Huangjiu. Speaking of Lu Wenyan, he hesitated for a moment before saying, "I haven't seen him and Hong Tan. I haven't seen them all this while. I saw them once at Prince Gong's residence. After that, they disappeared." Perhaps. Suyu was silent for a moment, but Bai Feng wasn't that worried. He said, "It's fine. They might have gone to the 8th floor." Suyu was surprised. He looked at Bai Feng. Bai Feng explained, "El heard that there are countless mansions and treasures on the 8th floor. Among them, there seem to be some civilized masters. They are ancient mansions that require an ancient occupation to enter. Senior uncle seems to have an occupation. He said that he wanted to go to the 8th floor to take a look. Teacher Lu has an ancient job." Suyu was surprised. Where did he get it? This thing needed to be conferred by an ancient expert. He inherited it. Bai Feng said casually, "It seems to be passed down from the 5th generation. The 5th generation obtained the ancient job and passed it on to Teacher Lu. It's useless." The great Qin King said, "Yi Badian does have it." Alright, so you could only think this way. Teacher Lu and the others had gone to the 8th level. At that moment, Huang Jiu came out. He looked at Suyu and then at Kong Kong. He did not say anything. Suyu was too lazy to say anything. Kong Kong, give me the 9-leaf sky lotus. Kong 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 looked around and said warily, if I give it to you, you won't. Su Yu said calmly, give it to me. Don't worry. In this situation, the humans have the upper hand. However, if Su Yu, say anything, I will spit on you like a nail. If the humans cause trouble for you, I will stand on your side. I can give it a try. Kong 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 hesitated for a moment before taking out the 9-leafed sky lotus. Su Yu reached out and grabbed it. The 9-leafed sky lotus was extremely enchanting. Even if it was plucked, it still seemed to be alive. Su Yu directly tore off a petal and threw it to Kong Kong Kong. Kong 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 was shocked. It was torn off just like that. He hurriedly took it but did not dare to say anything. With the current situation, he felt that it was very dangerous. Holding this thing, he felt that it was a little hot. Su Yu looked at the others. Do you have the invincible corpses of the celestial, demonic, and immortal races? The great Qin king shook his head, but Zhu Tianfang said, collected 2 immortal race corpses and 1 immortal race invincible corpse, but they weren't too complete. As for the demon race, they died together later. I didn't collect them. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2693, Chapter 2693, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath 4. Chapter 2693, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath 4. For Heaven Devouring. On the other side, Heaven Devouring of the ancient Ho clan swallowed his saliva and said carefully, it's fine if it's from the immortal clan. It's fine if it's incomplete. The immortal clans is even better. Zhu Tianfang looked at Su Yu and sighed. He still threw a storage ring to Heaven Devouring. Su Yu looked at Zhou and said, Senior Zhou, help me this time for the sake of the same cultivation technique. The treasure will be gone. We'll talk about the rest later. Su Yu, will definitely take revenge for whatever I've done. We'll see. Zhou ate and didn't say anything. Su Yu looked at the Fated Kin's invincible again. At this moment, the Fated Kin's invincible expert had a strange look in his eyes. When Su Yu looked at him, he said softly, you can only give me 1 petal. Su Yu didn't say anything and directly threw out the 3-petal 9-leaf sky lotus. When the Fated Kin's invincible received it, he felt that it was a bit hot. At this moment, many people looked at him and didn't say anything, but there was a strange look in their eyes. The last person to participate in the battle had taken away 3 petals of the 9-leafed sky lotus. Was it hot? It was too hot. The humans were probably not satisfied with Su Yu's distribution. They just didn't say anything. As for Kong Kong and the others, they were probably not satisfied either. The Fated Kin was invincible, and his Dao name was no diviner. At this moment, he really couldn't see his future clearly. Su Yu threw 3 petals over, but he was a little nervous. With 3 petals, he was afraid that he would lose his life. City Lord Su, there's no need. 1 petal is enough, if it's not enough, you don't have to give it to me. Su Yu said calmly, can't take back what I said. If I give you 3 petals, then I'll give you 3 petals. I only hope that you can keep your mouth shut. If you can't keep your mouth shut, I can give you 3 petals today. Tomorrow, Su Yu, will take it back with interest. After a moment of silence, he suddenly said, I won't say much. I will give 1 petal to Dao brother Zhou. If you give it to me, 1 will give it to him. What do you think, City Lord Su? Then it's up to you. Su Yu looked indifferent. Without saying anything, he threw 1 petal to Zhou. Zhou looked at him and then at Su Yu, grinning widely. Su Yu did not care about them. The 9-leafed heavenly lotus gave him 4 petals. Very quickly, he threw another petal to Xiaolong Wu. He casually took out a vessel and looked at Xia Longwu. He said calmly, "Manor head Xia, I gave this to brother Hu Yu as a gift. It can be considered as doing my best as a friend." Xia Longwu was silent. However, after taking these, he needed to restore his 3 incarnations. A petal of the 9-leafed heavenly lotus with a vessel would not be a big problem. On the Qin town side, Suyu was silent for a while before throwing out a petal of the 9-leafed heavenly lotus and a vessel. "This is me, Suyu, to the great Qin manor." Qin town's face was filled with joy as he hurriedly said, "Suyu, from now on, you are my brother. You just said that I am your father's." Suyu thought to himself. The great Qin king was here, so he did not say anything. Very soon, he looked at the great Qin king. He had given out 6 petals of the 9-leafed heavenly lotus, and now there were only 3 petals left. Suyu looked at the great Qin king's weak appearance again. He shook his head and said, "The great Qin king's situation is so bad that even the 9-leafed sky lotus is hard to recover. Just endure it yourself. If you give it to him, there's a high chance that it'll be a waste." The great Qin king was speechless. After a long while, he said softly, "Not bad. 2 of my 3 bodies have fallen, and only the past remains. Even if you give me the entire 9-leafed sky lotus, it'll be hard for me to recover. It'll be a waste." Suyu nodded, "So I'll take the remaining 3 petals myself." The great Qin king lightly laughed, "Of course. You've put in a lot of effort this time." Beside him, Ian Tian faintly said, "What about mine?" Suyu said disapprovingly, "What do you want this for?" "I'll give you 1,000 petals, 9,000 petals. Will you be enough?" Lan Tian was depressed, "Not enough." Then what was there to say? No matter how much it was given, it would be a waste. If it was a waste, then there was no need to give it to him. Suyu had already completed the 4th transformation. If he used the 3 petals for himself, he could at least go through the 7th transformation, right? Moreover, he had killed a few unrivaled existences before. Even though he had only killed 1 now as a support and the reward was not much, it was still quite a lot. If Suyu grinded it by himself, he could probably go through the 5th transformation before consuming it. There was still hope for him to complete the 8th transformation. He had to think of another way to complete the 9th transformation. The great Qin king was too powerful, and Suyu was unable to help him. Just as Suyu had said, if he were to give all of it to him, even the great Qin king would find it difficult to recover a single body. He could only rely on stronger and better treasures, or the great Qin king himself to change his path. 2 of his 3 bodies had been destroyed, and Suyu felt that his previous body should be quite powerful as well. He had at least reached the 7th stage of eternity. Wasn't that enough? If he disguised himself well, he might not be discovered. As long as the people here did not leak out, the best way was to kill them to silence them. However, the first was that it was not easy to kill them. The second was to kill them all. It was like burning the bridge after crossing it. Finally, Suyu looked at Xingyue. Xingyue's face was cold. Suyu thought about it and did not seem to have any treasures for her. Helplessly, he cupped his hands and said, "Sir, I will definitely help you sweep through the undead realm in the future and help you become the undead overlord." Xingyue could not be bothered with him. "Who do you think you are?" "Heh." Bai Feng looked at Xingyue with some trepidation and then looked at Su Yue. He could not help but ask again, "Can you tell me what exactly happened?" "Damn it, I really don't know what happened." Su Yu said calmly, "The people outside are probably all dead. I'm not sure about the rest." "Teacher, how long have you been here?" Elle entered the 7th floor not long after. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2694, Chapter 2694, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath. Chapter 2694, Chapter 573 Dealing with Aftermath. 5. As he spoke, he transmitted his voice to Suyu, hurry up and get rid of them. I've discovered a big secret. Suyu's eyes flickered and he quickly said, the 7th floor is probably quiet now. Everyone, if there's nothing else, you can leave now. The group of people looked at Suyu. Suyu gestured for Bai Feng to open the boundary wall. Bai Feng quickly opened the boundary wall, and Suyu cupped his hands towards the great Qin King and the others. The mountain is high and the road is long. I won't say much else. Take care of yourself, great Qin King. Sir, your injuries are not light, but you don't need any help from this kid. You can't help Sir either. The human elites are gathered. Sir knows how to deal with them better than I do. The great Qin King sighed lightly and stood up. He looked at Suyu. Have you thought about returning to the human race? Suyu shook his head. No. That's fine. The great Qin King looked at the others. He said softly, we owe you our lives, race, overall situation, family. There's no point in talking too much about some things. If I really fall, I hope that one day, I'll be able to see you in the East Rift Valley. Suyu. Take care. After saying that, the great Qin King turned around and left. Seeing this, the others also left cautiously. Only when Xingyue was about to leave, Suyu shouted, my lord, where are you going? The situation over there is still unknown, and the undead passageway might not have opened yet. Wait a moment, let's go take a look together later. Xingyue was speechless. You want to teach me? I don't know. She stood at the opening of the barrier without moving, as if she had not heard Suyu's words. Suyu did not care either. All right, it's fine as long as you don't move. Xingyue suddenly said, the origin convergence saber might still be there. Suyu nodded, it doesn't matter. That place might not be safe now, and the great Qin King and the others might not stay on the 7th floor. There's a high chance that they will tear the entrance open. Going to the 6th floor. It's not too late to look for it later. He did not plan to look for it. Even if the origin convergence saber was not very powerful now, he did not plan to look for it. He did not go because he wanted the great Qin King to go. The great Qin King was crippled, and at least to him. Suppressing the human race was not enough. However, if he could obtain the origin convergence saber, perhaps, he could maintain a certain level of deterrence. Of course, these words did not need to be said. Beside him, Bai Feng pushed him and sent a voice transmission, there's a storage ring underground. Suyu said calmly, El saw it. It was left behind by the great Qin King. He was afraid that I would not accept it if he gave it to me in person, but I was also afraid that I would remind him. He really took it, so I'll just pretend that I did not see it. I paid such a huge price and should have given me some compensation. The group of people looked at him with their mouths agape. You saw it? They thought that Suyu didn't see it. Suyu curled his lips. Of course I saw it, but what should I say? I said that I didn't want it. That's too hypocritical. I said that one wanted it. How embarrassing would that be? How good would that be? If you left something behind, one would take it. You treated me as if I didn't know. I treated you as if you were determined to give it to me. How suitable would that be? He picked it up and examined it. He was speechless and smiled, it's not bad. Before the great Qin King left, he fished out 3 invincible corpses and 6 carriers. If we calculate it, we have almost made back what we gave. Bai Feng gasped and said, are you all playing like this now? The carriers are calculated according to the number of pieces. Suyu smiled and said, teacher, this is nothing. How many invincible experts have died this time? However, it's a pity that a part of them must have been destroyed, and a part of them may not be found now. There aren't many corpses left, and countless invincible blood essences have been lost. Forget it, don't worry too much. He gave out 2 carriers, took back 6 pieces, and earned 4 pieces. By now, the load-bearing items in Su Yu's hands were almost 20. At that moment, there were not many people left in the barrier. Other than Wu Lan and the others, Su Yu and Xingyue were left behind. Blue Sky had not left either, and there was only a scholar-like body left. It was unknown if this was the only clone. Outside the barrier, the Great Qin King looked back at the closed barrier and then at the completely abandoned 7th floor. He then looked at the others and calmly said, "Go to the 6th floor." Qin Zhen hurriedly said, "Father, what about your injuries? Do you want to go to the 8th floor to take a look?" Zhu Tianfang said in a low voice, "Go look for the origin returning knife." Uncle Qin, so you didn't mention the origin returning knife, so there's a high chance that he didn't prepare to take it. Uncle, if you take the origin returning knife, with the addition of the origin returning knife, you might be able to maintain the previous deterrence. The Great Qin King was silent. Zhu Tianfang said in a low voice, "I'll know what Uncle Qin means, but, the human race needs it, very much. Otherwise, once the news gets out, the human race will be in chaos. Even if Uncle Qin thinks that it's better if Su Yu takes it away, but, the human race is in chaos now. Su Yu has returned to the human race, but he can't suppress those valiant old generals." The Great Qin King was silent for a moment, then said, "I'll go and take a look. If I can take it away, then I'll take it away. If I can't, then I'll leave it behind." And he looked at the others and the non-human experts. He said calmly, "If everyone goes out and returns to the race, if the experts within the race ask about it, you can tell them everything except for Su Yu. Including my matter, including the matter of 2 of my 3 bodies being destroyed, and getting the returning origin saber, I can at least hold on for a while. I hope that everyone can give me face." The few foreign experts didn't dare to say anything else and cupped their fists. The mighty tiger fell. Even the Great Qin King, who only had 1 life, gave them a great sense of pressure. Master Wu Jizi took the lead and said, "We won't tell you about Su Yu's matter. Don't worry, Great Qin King." The Great Qin King nodded slightly. "Go to the 6th floor first. How do you get out? Take a look again. If you can't get out, everything will be for naught." With such a huge change, there might be some changes in the outside world. He didn't say anything else and quickly disappeared from where he was. Soon, he arrived at the passageway of the dead souls. At this moment, there was no one in the passageway of the dead souls. There were no dead souls in the passageway of the dead souls either. They had all been scared away, and some of them had died. Even the rules had been destroyed. They were terrifyingly powerful. Old Zhou. The Great Qin King thought of the name Su Yu had given him, and he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Soon, he saw a slightly trembling Gui Yuan saber somewhere. It was badly injured, and he reached out to grab it. Even though it had been injured, the origin convergence saber still struggled violently, leaving bloody marks on his hands. The Great Qin King let out a low shout and put the origin convergence saber into his body. His aura instantly became stronger, and his eyes became sharp. "Not bad, at least I can barely display stage 9 strength. Unless it was a life-and-death battle, unless it was a battle with a half-emperor, under normal circumstances, he would be able to deal with it." He looked into the distance again, took a deep breath, and disappeared. "Su Yu, perhaps, it would all depend on you in the end." Of course, the human race wasn't that weak. In a short period of time, there wouldn't be much of a problem. He was still alive, which was the best outcome. This time, he wasn't able to become a half-emperor and had lost 2 incarnations. The Great Qin King was a little disappointed, but he didn't feel too sad. This was fine. This time, he had killed so many races that he was invincible. This was a success. The human race had gained quite a lot. Even if they had given Su Yu 6 carriers, he still had some. The old fellows in the human realm could find a way to recover. Yun Chen had successfully attained the Tao. Xia Longwu and the others should have also gained something from this battle. As these thoughts arose, the great Qin king quickly disappeared. He didn't go to the 8th level. If he did, there was a high chance that he would die. The current him couldn't afford to gamble. He knew that going to the 8th floor might allow him to recover. However, being willful once was enough. If he were to be willful a second time in order to recover, if he were to really die, then he would be a sinner. He couldn't die yet. If he could, it would be best if he didn't take the risk. Soon, the entrance to the 7th floor was torn apart. The group of people entered the 6th floor, looking for a chance to return. They didn't look for treasures anymore. Perhaps they could look for treasures on the 6th floor. However, they didn't want to go to the 3rd floor. After they left, Suyu looked at Bai Feng, who grimaced in pain. He chuckled and said, "We're rich, kid. We're really rich this time. I found a blood pool here. It's extremely powerful. The instant you cast your body, the 9 transformations are the same. Kid, you're currently in the 9 transformation stage, right? L can't believe it. That blood pool is frighteningly powerful. Moreover, I suspect that there are many such blood pools." Suyu was slightly taken aback. Blood pool? Old Zhou's blood? His teacher had really discovered it. He was truly bold. Wasn't he afraid of being killed? No wonder he had asked him to get rid of the other party. His teacher wasn't a big-hearted person, and he didn't want to be shared with others. Suyu chuckled to himself. It was a good thing, and good things should be enjoyed by his own family. At this moment, he suddenly thought of something. That blockhead seemed to be acquainted with the great Qin king. He forgot to ask, who was that person? Could it be that he was one of the founding kings? He felt that he was someone of the same generation, and he didn't know if he had died or not. Speaking of which, he owed the other party a favor. It was a pity that he couldn't take the other party away then. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2695, Chapter 2695, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal. Chapter 2695, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal. He no longer thought about being a dork. When he was alive, he was a human, but after he died, like he too, he might have some thoughts, but his thoughts as a human were so indifferent that they were almost invisible. Having consumed the fruit of life and death, Dork seemed to have thought of too many things. That was why he chose to help the great Qin king block the blood fire demon king at the last moment. At this moment, Suyu was even more interested in what Bai Feng and the others had discovered. Could it transform vital qi? To be honest, if it really was old Zhou's blood, the effects would definitely not be inferior to the 9-leaf sky lotus. This was because old Zhou was too powerful and terrifying. The second layer of lava felt like old Zhou's blood was boiling. However, in reality, it was not blood. Even if it was only the surface layer and could not go deep into the core. Suyu was looking forward to the effects of the blood pool. Yun Chen's Tao attainment might also have something to do with this. Teacher, where is the blood pool? I'll bring you there to take a look. Bai Feng said excitedly, I was just about to use it. I'll let Grandmaster Yun Chen use it first. After all, he's extremely powerful. If he doesn't die after using it, we'll try again. If he doesn't die, it means that the advantages of this thing outweigh the disadvantages. I was just about to try it when you guys came. Behind him, Yun Chen didn't say anything. Up until now, he was still in a daze. Of course, he was also a little wary of Xingyu. After all, this was a death spirit sovereign. Among those present, only he could compete with this one. As for Bai Feng using him as a test subject, he couldn't be bothered to say anything. At the very least, the benefits were real. To be honest, he didn't think that he would be able to obtain any benefits here. The effect of the blood was really extraordinary. Soon, the group of people walked deeper into the pool. After walking for a while, Suyu saw a blood-red pool. Bai Feng said excitedly, "This is it." The blood-red pool was very calm. Inside, there was blood boiling slightly. There wasn't much blood, but it was emitting a faint fragrance. Could this be a blood cell? Suyu thought to himself. This could be considered old Zhou's blood cells. There was blood born from it, or in other words, this was a part of the blood. At that moment, he took a whiff of the smell. Before he could move, the little hairy ball suddenly jumped out and sniffed. "It smells so good." Suyu glanced at it. "You drink blood too?" The little hairy ball was depressed. "This isn't blood, this is fragrance. I don't drink blood, but I want to eat incense." Just as Suyu was about to go forward, Yunchen said, "Blood is too strong. Even just a little bit of it contains a lot of power. It's very easy for you to burst." Suyu smiled. "PM about to reach the 5th transformation. I'll burst." What a joke. It was more or less the same for Bai Feng. My Lingyun 5th transformation was different from the normal 5th transformation. Once he completed the 9 transformations, he might be able to step into the Sun-Moon realm very soon. Only then would he be truly powerful. Suyu did not say anything. He took another step forward and squatted down. He looked at the blood pool that was not too big. It was only about the size of a normal bathtub, but the blood inside was very rich. Suyu reached out and submerged his hand in it. He sensed it slightly. Behind him, Yunchen wanted to say something but stopped himself. He was ready to throw him out. However, when he looked again, his gaze changed. Beside him, Lan Tian smiled faintly. "Don't be shocked. This terrifying brat tore apart several invincible opponents outside." Bai Feng's eyes widened as he looked at Lan Tian. "Am I hearing things?" Lan Tian seemed to know what he was thinking. He said faintly, "You conceal your 6 senses and pretend that you didn't hear anything." Just now, in the battle outside, dozens of invincible experts had died. This kid had torn apart quite a few of them by himself, and the great Qin king had almost been beaten to death. This kid had called for a bunch of scoundrels to help, and those who had just survived were all called over by him. "Little Bai Feng, you can't do it." Bai Feng's mouth was wide open, but Suyu didn't even turn his head. He said casually, "Teacher, don't pay attention to him. You're not as bad as he said. At least you're a researcher. Besides, I did some calculations, and I tore 3 invincible 3-generation bodies. I didn't really kill invincible. Senior Blue Sky is exaggerating. F***CKU. Bai Feng wanted to roar. Just 3. Just 3 invincible 3-generation bodies. Get lost. He quickly said, "One want to go into this blood pool. Get lost, mine." He originally wanted to give his disciple a bath, but now. Scram. He couldn't. Suyu smiled. "Teacher, forget it. It'll explode, but it's fine, I have a way. The blood energy is too strong, you won't be able to hold on." After saying that, he took out a large bathtub. Bai Feng looked at him in surprise. "Why are you carrying this? It's not a bathtub. It's a carrier. It's just in this shape." Suyu explained, "This isn't a bathtub. I don't know what it is. Do you think I have nothing to do and carry a bathtub with me?" Behind him, Yunchen opened his mouth again and was speechless for a long time. Now, was this carrier not valuable? Soon, Suyu took out some water condensation beads and some heavenly and earthly treasures. Soon, he took out some emperor saliva and threw in some lotus roots. Then, Suyu thought for a while, then, he threw a large piece of heavenly river sand into it. Soon, Suyu thought for a while again. The fire of inheritance burned, and the 5 elements divine runes were forged. Then, he carefully took out drops of blood from the blood pool and sprinkled them into the bathtub. Yun Chen was stunned by this scene. Yun Chen looked around, with a depressed face, as if he was the only one who was stunned. Yes, it was only him. There were many people in this place. Wu Lan, Wu Qi, Bai Feng, Wu Jia, Lan Tian, Su Yu, Xing Yu. In the end, he was the only one in a daze. Everyone else looked indifferent as if they were used to it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2696, Chapter 2696, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal too. Chapter 2696, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal too. Yun Chen comforted himself. These people did not know the value of these treasures, they did not know the value of these treasures. Just this pool of things, Yun Chen felt that even without the blood, it could be exchanged for a load. Just as he was thinking, Wu Lan frowned and said, "Neutralize the blood energy. This is a little offensive. The heavenly river sand has a certain degree of corrosiveness. Its main function is to purify, which makes the power of the blood even stronger. You also use the emperor's saliva to neutralize it, so it can be partially neutralized, but it's still a little wasteful. Your lotus root should have healing effects, right? I'll think it's a little too little." So, the other party knew him. Yun Chen was speechless. Suyu smiled and said, No. It's all right. If it's a little wasteful, then it's a little wasteful. You guys won't be able to digest it. Now, it's more or less enough. Teacher, you guys come in and soak in it together. This way, you can neutralize it. The effect is pretty good. All of you come. It's not difficult to cast a body, and it's not difficult to transform one's vitality either. As he spoke, he muttered some words, and a wave of sacred words entered everyone's ears. This is the breathing technique. Cultivate while breathing. Very quickly, Suyu continued to recite. This is the 72 metal forging technique. Cast as much as you can. It doesn't matter whether it succeeds or not. If it doesn't succeed, then complete the 9 transformations of Lingyun. Breathing technique, 72 metal forging technique. These were all top-notch cultivation techniques that couldn't be any more top-notch. I'll first cultivate my physical body. There's no rush in terms of willpower. Suyu smiled and said, "All right, these are yours. I'll directly go take a bath and try it out." These things had their power neutralized. In fact, it still consumed the power of the blood, which was a bit of a waste. However, to Bai Feng and the others, too much power would cause them to explode. It was just nice to weaken them a little. Expending a large amount of resources just to expend energy was probably not something anyone else would do. These things were not used to cast a body or 9 transformations of Yuan Qi. But to Suyu, these were nothing. Furthermore, this blood was discovered by his teacher. Very soon, Suyu jumped into it. A powerful blood energy rapidly seeped into his body. As for the blood divine inscription, it was already close to advancing. At this moment, it had only absorbed a little bit of blood energy. With a boom, it had finally completed its transformation. Rank 5. Sun Moon Divine Prose. At this point, Suyu had 3 rank 5 Divine Prose. This bit of blood seeped into Suyu's body, as if it wanted to change his body. However, Suyu was also very powerful at this moment. It was just a bit of blood, and it wasn't enough to change his structure. Old Zhou's level was very high, but this wasn't blood essence. It was only a part of his blood. Suyu didn't think about collecting old Zhou's blood essence. First, if he really collected it, old Zhou might wake up, and he would definitely die. Secondly, his level was too high. If the Atlas couldn't absorb his blood essence, Suyu would explode. Thirdly, old Zhou was still alive. If he really did consume his opponent's blood essence, he would easily become like Modwa, a target that old Zhou could devour at will. Old Zhou's resentment would still be there, and it would be easy for him to possess it. Therefore, Suyu only cared about this pool of blood. As for the rest, he put them all in. As for Bai Feng and the rest, they hesitated for a moment before quickly entering the bathtub. The bathtub did not look big, but when they entered, they realized that the space was huge. This was a supreme treasure, an existence on the level of a vessel. A group of people, other than Lan Tian, Yun Chen, and Xingyu, jumped in. Below, Suyu was taking a bath. He was absorbing energy and slowly pushing his Yuan Qi to transform. As he took a bath, he looked at Lan Tian and said, "Senior Lan Tian, are all your avatars gone?" Lan Tian said bitterly, "I'll only have this one clone." Suyu understood. The main body is still there, right? Are there many main bodies? Yunchen felt that he did not understand what they were saving. When Lan Tian said that there was no more, he thought that Lan Tian only had this one physical body. In the end, Suyu asked him how many main bodies he had. *CK, was this a conversation between humans? As for Lan Tian, he had a bitter expression. A few main bodies have also exploded. There are only a few main bodies left. Your main body is too weak. I think it's better to fuse with some invincible main bodies. Invincible is too strong. It's not easy to fuse with. Suyu shook his head and said, "That's not necessarily the case. I think if we extract the invincible essence blood, the strength of the physical body, is actually just so. Let's go back and look around to see if there are any more invincible corpses left. If we find them, I'll extract the essence blood. You can try fusing with them. This way, if we fuse a few dozen more, we can really fight invincible." That makes sense. We can give it a try, but without the main body of the blood essence, we don't have a soul. Suyu smiled and said, "You have to eat one mouthful at a time. What's the rush? Oh right, is the head really not here this time? No, wait outside." Lan Tian didn't hide anything, he casually said, he said that if you came in, there would definitely be a lot of trouble and a lot of dead people. He will be waiting outside to receive you. Don't worry. When we go out, he will take action to prevent any changes in the outside world. The main purpose is to escort you back to the ancient city. You're too kind, Principal. Wan Tianxing did not come. It seemed that he was waiting for everyone outside. However, it was hard to say now. The situation was unknown. The outside world had probably changed too. It would probably be very difficult to receive them. As Suyu spoke, he absorbed the power of his blood. The powerful power pushed him to complete the fifth change. Suyu, who was already close to the fifth change, shook his body not long after. With a rumble, a powerful force swept out in all directions. In the distance, Xingyu grunted. Suyu immediately smiled and said, I'm sorry. I can't seal my yang aperture now. As I become stronger, the energy absorbed by my yang aperture will become stronger. Sir, please forgive me. I will think of a way to solve this problem. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2697, Chapter 2697, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal 3. Chapter 2697, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal 3. After completing the 5 transformations, Suyu was too strong. His physical strength, without opening his yang aperture, was as high as 13 million aperture strength. As for the yang aperture amplification, it was slightly weaker now, but it was still strong. After opening his yang aperture, Su Yu's strength had already exceeded 20 million aperture strength. Su Yu was certain that from a purely physical point of view, he could be compared to some weak and invincible. Of course, it was after opening the yang aperture. The strength of the physical body was only the strength of the physical body, it didn't mean anything else. However, at least he had some capital to protect his life. Now, the yang aperture had become the most urgent matter. If he didn't solve this problem, Xingyu would be sucked to death sooner or later. Su Yu could not judge Xingyue's strength, but she was definitely not as strong as he too. She had not reached the 7th level of Eternal Realm, so she was at most at the 5th or 6th level of Eternal Realm. On the other hand, a dead spirit of the same level was not as strong as a living person of the same level. Therefore, if one were to really talk about Xingyue's strength, Su Yu felt that she might not be as strong as Xiaolongu. She was at most at the same level as Xiaolongu. As for Xiaolongu, he had just attained the Tao a few days ago. After completing the 5 transformations, Su Yu did not feel any heartache at all. Suddenly, a lotus petal fell into the blood pool. Yun Chen stretched out his hand, wanting to stop it. Forget it, he gave up. At this moment, Yun Chen's heart was shaking. You are really crazy. This is the 9-leaf sky lotus. A treasure that is hard to come by in this world. Are you going to squander it just like that? As for Su Yu, he did not care about that. The moment the 9-leaf sky lotus fused into his blood. This thing was related to time. Su Yu's vision went into a daze for a moment. Suddenly, a river of time appeared. Su Yu exerted all his strength and tore the river of time apart. That's right, his current strength was much stronger than an ordinary 9th level sun-moon cultivator. The 9-leafed heavenly lotus had a function. By fusing with multiple 3-generation bodies, it could strengthen the 3-generation bodies and the main body, reaching the standard of unity. As for Su Yu, he was not interested in creating a 3-generation body. At this moment, Su Yu felt that he might be able to create a 3-generation body when he was in the Ling-Yin stage. However, Su Yu knew that there were too many flaws in this thing. He was not interested in creating a 3-generation body now. He might as well follow his own path step by step. The river of time was trembling. Su Yu had very little control over this, so he could not be bothered to do too much. At this moment, he was protected by a force that was the power of the 9-leafed heavenly lotus. Very soon, Su Yu seemed to have returned to the moment just now. He returned to the moment of the battle just now, to the moment when he absorbed the invincible essence blood. In front of a wave, Su Yu quickly stopped and dived into it without saying a word. As expected, he vaguely saw his invincible state just now. Su Yu didn't waste any words. He grabbed Su Yu and roared, stepping from the past into the present. Under the protection of the 9-leafed heavenly lotus, he quickly returned. Along the way, the other Su Yu's power was constantly being dissipated in the river of time. Su Yu didn't care. It was an external power. Not long after, Su Yu returned. With a rumble, a shadow merged into his body. A powerful force spread out from Su Yu's body. With a rumble, the powerful force caused Su Yu's body to continuously collapse and quickly recover. One after another, with a rumble, the 360 acupuncture points turned into a dazzling sun. Ling Yun's 6th transformation. Not only that, the power of his blood was also pushing him forward. Without another word, Su Yu threw out another 9-leafed lotus. He had 3 petals, but only used 1. This time, he hoped that with the help of his blood and the power of the 9-leafed lotus, he could directly enter the 9th transformation. After the 9th transformation, if things went smoothly, he would soon be able to enter the 9th level of the mountain in Sea Realm. He would officially begin to fuse with his aperture and step into the Sun and Moon Realm. Inhuman. At this point, Yun Chen sighed and sighed. If he wants to, he can now directly cross the mountains and seas, the sun and moon realm, and step into the quasi-invincible realm. Off to the side, Lan Tian looked at him as if he were looking at a fool. Isn't he an idiot? If that's the case, then he can only walk the path of three-body fusion, and he has missed out on many opportunities to improve. All for the sake of becoming quasi-invincible. It's not like I haven't killed him before. What quasi-invincible? They are all trash. Realm is nothing. What's important is strength. Just now, if Su Yu was willing, he could have directly skipped those and used a carrier to carry the past body he had captured to transform into three bodies, officially becoming a quasi-invincible expert. But that Su Yu was only an ordinary, slightly stronger quasi-invincible expert. He was no longer considered a peerless genius. At that time, he had crossed over many things. His Yuan Qi was no longer transforming. He was about to walk the Tao of three-body unity. In order to prepare for his Tao, he was only one of the ordinary quasi-invincible. Quasi-invincible was a realm that countless people pursued. As for Su Yu, he did not care about that. He did not consider it at all. Even if he had a lot of things to carry, he did not think about it. In the distance, Xing Yu was almost being sucked in until she was trembling with death qi. However, she sneered and said, quasi-invincibility? 3-in-1 Tao. L don't have many memories, but I know, 3-in-1 Tao, it's very inappropriate. True ancient experts, are not trash. They don't even know how to cultivate the 3-in-1 Tao. Yun Qin glanced at her, he calmly said, everyone knows about this. You are not the only one who knows. In the ancient era, it wasn't as if there was no explanation at all. The Tao of three-body unity has many flaws, many troubles, and many dangers, but what you don't know is that the ancient parliament was destroyed, and there was a law that was left behind. Those who didn't walk the Tao of three-body unity would be destroyed by the law. Cultivation techniques that don't belong to the Tao of three-body unity would be destroyed. Therefore, in the myriad realms of the heavens, the Tao of three-body unity is the foundation. Otherwise, do you think that there would be so many eternity? Although the Tao of 3-in-1 weakens one's strength, it also provides convenience for everyone to attain the Tao. At the very least, there is no need to face the tribulation of laws. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2698, Chapter 2698, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal for. Chapter 2698, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal for. Xing Yu ignored him. She couldn't be bothered with this. Meanwhile, Su Yu, who was cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes. Senior Yun Chen, you mean, the three bodies as one Tao is a must practice? Yun Chen nodded and looked at Su Yu again. After a long while, he said, of course, you go your own way. When you really reach the moment of attaining Tao, the tribulation of rules may not be able to do anything to you. After saying that, Yun Chen did not say anything else. There were some things that he could not do, but it did not mean that Su Yu could not do it. Of course, it was very dangerous. But when was Su Yu not dangerous? Su Yu did not ask any further. Very soon, he continued to push his strength and tear the river of time apart. He did not go to the future, and the future could not be pursued. The past was the real thing. He would capture the bodies of the past in the past and fuse them into his body. It was not three bodies either. He was simply borrowing the strength of the past. He was strengthening his Yuan Qi. After the second nine-leafed heavenly lotus was consumed, Su Yu's aura surged once again. With a boom, the seventh transformation was completed. His blood was pushing him towards the eighth transformation. As for the nine-leafed heavenly lotus, there was still one petal left. The eighth transformation was stable, but if it was the ninth transformation, it was hard to say. Even if it was unstable, it would be done soon. The third petal of the nine-leafed heavenly lotus was thrown into the blood pool by Suyu, and Suyu appeared in the river of time once again. In the bathtub, Bai Feng and the others were also completing their transformations. Casting a body was not too simple. They had enough resources. To Bai Feng and the others, the consumption was too small. With so many treasures, it was enough for them to cast a body for a long time. The transformation of vitality was also very simple. Bai Feng was only at second level Ling Yun previously. At this moment, he was constantly improving and transforming. Suyu had only completed the 7 transformations of Ling Yun. Bai Feng was almost catching up. At this moment, he opened his eyes and had a look of regret. I'm going to surpass you, Suyu. Kid, you still can't do it. Everyone only talked about realm, not strength. Strength was meaningless. We only looked at realm. No matter how weak I am, my cultivation realm will soon surpass yours. Suyu couldn't even be bothered with it. You are a 9th level mountain and sea realm cultivator. I can crush you with a single finger. Alright, there's no need to say such words. Let teacher have a good time and console himself. Otherwise, in his despair, he will become as abnormal as Lan. Tian. After another half an hour, Suyu's blood and qi surged. With a rumbling sound, a powerful aura spread out in all directions. Yun Chen and the blue sky's expressions changed slightly. The 8th transformation was completed. Humph. A light snort sounded beside them. In the distance, Xingyu's body trembled, and the aura of death dissipated slightly. As for Suyu, he quickly stopped cultivating. Soon, his young aperture began to absorb his own power, the power of his blood and qi, and stopped absorbing the aura of death. Suyu quickly absorbed that power. The power that was supposed to push him to the 9th transformation was absorbed by him in the blink of an eye. Suyu, who was about to transform into the 9th transformation, immediately stopped the 9th transformation. The power of 44 million apertures. Without any bonus, without the young aperture, this was Suyu. As for Xingyue, under the situation where he absorbed the death qi, she couldn't hold on anymore. If Suyu didn't rely on himself to provide the power of the young aperture, Xingyue would be directly absorbed by him until she collapsed. Suyu jumped out of the blood pool. The blood pool had dried up, but Suyu didn't care. He stepped on the ground, and the space of his cells shook a little. At this moment, Xingyue's aura of death was scattered. She looked at Suyu and said coldly, "You think I can't hold on? What a joke. Suyu, don't overestimate yourself." Sir is right. Suyu gave a perfunctory reply. His young aperture was currently absorbing his own stored energy. Just keep your mouth shut. He suspected that if he continued to absorb, Xingyue would really die. There was no need to complete the 9 transformations. It was only a matter of time. First, he had to solve the problem of the divine aperture. After opening the yin aperture, the young aperture would be neutralized and could be closed at any time. Only then would he be able to complete the 9 transformations. That would be more appropriate. Otherwise, after the 9 transformations, the young aperture would slightly lose control or fight. Xingyue would definitely die. This time, if he could turn the tables, Xingyue would be of great help. He, Suyu, was a person who remembered grudges and favors. The current him really wanted to kill Xingyue. It would not be too easy. He would just crazily absorb the aura of death, then punch her with his fist, and Xingyu would probably die. He wouldn't be able to dodge, because the energy absorbed by Suyu's young aperture was too strong. As for Suyu, he could also feel that his realm was a little unstable. Too strong. His physical body and willpower were a little out of balance. His control over his strength was also a little out of control. He needed to slowly adjust it. Suyu thought for a moment, then looked at Yun Chen and said, "Senior Yun, in terms of eternity, just look at strength. I mean, in terms of physical strength, what is the approximate area of eternal strength? Just look at strength. Yun Chen looked at him. After thinking for a moment, he said, the physical body is invincible. When the three bodies become one, it can reach about 30 million apertures of strength. Once they are separated, then the strength won't be too strong. Each three-generation body is about 20 million or so. This was the reason why top-level quasi-undefeatable beings could be undefeatable in reverse. As long as they were separated from their three-body as one state, some quasi-undefeatable beings could kill them. Suyu nodded slightly. The transformation isn't low. Then, is this considered an eternal first stage? No, it's considered a second stage. Yun Chen explained, a real first stage is actually not very common. A first stage is an existence who has attained Tao in a small world. Their strength isn't strong and is only about the same as some top-level quasi-undefeatable beings. It should have around 20 million apertures of strength. Under normal circumstances, as long as they don't attain Tao in a small world, they'll have the strength of stage 2 or stage 3. Understood. Thus, stage 1 was also very rare, and they were all undefeatable trash. A stage 1 can increase the strength of 10 million aperture. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2699, Chapter 2699, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal 5. Chapter 2699, Chapter 574 was too abnormal and normal 5. Looking at the situation, it's more or less the same. 30 million was the second level, 40 million was the third level. At this moment, Su Yu's physical strength alone was already at the third level. Of course, unrivaled strength lay in the laws of space and time. Even so, Su Yu also felt that he was terrifyingly powerful. Ordinary eternity, in front of him, if he were to take him by surprise and punch him with his full strength, his opponent might be directly blown up. The powerful me. Su Yu sighed in his heart. He was getting more and more powerful. This time, entering the Starry Manor, he had gained a lot. Of course, the greater the gain, the greater the trouble. Su Yu couldn't be bothered to care about it. He glanced at Bai Feng and the others, who were still cultivating. Su Yu didn't say anything. Soon, he took out the civilization will and poured a large amount of blood into it. This time, he had killed too many people. Su Yu didn't get many corpses, but he did get a lot of blood essence. He also had a lot of heavenly soldiers. They were all stolen, and there was also some invincible blood essence. There was no need to keep these things. They could be easily located. The essence blood was absorbed, and there were more and more golden patterns on the civilization will. 113,114. As the essence blood was absorbed, when Su Yu absorbed the invincible essence blood, with a boom, the entire civilization will began to shake violently. 118 golden patterns. After absorbing countless essence blood, the civilization will stepped into the middle stage of heavenly soldiers and advanced. Yun Chen and Lan Tian watched silently. Su Yu was very terrifying. As for Su Yu, he didn't give up. Soon, he took out 6 heavenly soldiers. With a strange expression, he said, "You too, lend me a hand. I'll shatter these heavenly soldiers and merge them into one Mingji." Yun Chen and Lan Tian looked at him strangely. This guy was really crazy. Are you sure? Yun Chen couldn't help but say, "You are the weapon forging master of these heavenly weapons. Even if there are some problems, you can spend time to erase everything. No need." Su Yu grinned and said, "It's more important to turn them into your own strength. It's not important to turn them into weapons. Once you become stronger, you can have whatever you want." After saying that, Su Yu smiled and said, "Seniors, help me do it. It's enough that the main body is a mid-grade heavenly weapon. These heavenly weapons fuse one page with another. I still have quite a number of weapons that have been integrated into the pages. Suyu chuckled and said, I'm powerful now and can control them. It's best if the pages reach the heavenly weapon level. The main page will soon reach the divine weapon level. When that happens, it'll be terrifying. At this moment, even the madman Lan Tian could not help but ask, how many carry items do you have? L didn't look, about 20. Suyu smiled and said, not much. There are only 6 heavenly soldiers. Adding them together, there are only 26. Just now, I have 301 pages, and 1/10 is not enough. Fortunately, I integrated one page previously, and it's scattered throughout the entire book. If I integrated all of them now, there would be 27. Madman. Lan Tian could not help but curse, I was just saying. I said I wanted 10,000. In reality, I never thought about it. You madman, you're really doing it. I was just saying it to get high. What the F***ck, you're really doing it. You're a doer. I'm convinced. At this moment, he was no longer mad because he felt that Suyu was the madman. He's crazy. Are you crazy? I was really just casually saying it. He had never thought that it was impossible for him to fuse with 10,000 carriers. But Suyu, including all these, he would fuse with 27. Was he crazy? Suyu said calmly, since Senior Lan Tian said that, since you want to do it, then do it. A civilized master, seeking the unknown, exploring the future. Everything is for the future. Who knows what will happen in the future? Moreover, it's useless even if I want many carriers. My teacher and the others still don't have any use for them. After saying that, Suyu smiled and said, moreover, when one use them, I'm not afraid that no one will kill me because all the worlds want to kill me. In my life, all the worlds are unfair. I'm destined to fight endlessly. I don't lack these things. Yes, definitely. If he didn't die, all the worlds would be unfair. The battle wouldn't stop. Suyu had already become an overlord that the world feared. The power behind him was also very terrifying. Unknowingly, Suyu had already gathered too many unrivaled experts. If he really stood out, he would be one of the overlords of the world. He wasn't an overlord of one side, but the overlords of the other side. This time, once I go out, once the news gets out. Suyu smiled and said, could it be that you two seniors think that I have another way to go? Perhaps, in order to kill me, those guys will join forces and even destroy the ancient city. So, I have to become stronger. Suyu's eyes were cold as he said, L don't want to be forced time and time again and be trapped in the ancient city. If they don't come looking for me, one will kill them sooner or later and collect their corpses one by one. In his hand, when Mingji trembled. Suyu smiled happily and said, don't worry. The corpses of the 10,000 races are waiting for us to collect them. Suyu wants him to die in the 3rd watch. No one can live until the 5th watch. Don't worry. When Mingji trembled slightly and soon stopped moving. As for Suyu, he began to destroy the heaven weapons and the carrying objects. He didn't have the strength before, but now, he had enough strength. With the help of Yun Chen and the others, he quickly integrated the carrying objects or heaven weapons into the pages of the atlas. He merged the god, devil, and immortal dragon Ming into the object because Suyu realized that there were too many experts from these clans. If the page wasn't strong enough, it wouldn't work. Only by being strong could he suppress everyone. Rumble. The pages of the book began to advance. Soon, over 20 pages advanced to the peak Earth weapon level. The projection within was also strengthening. The projection of the celestial race had reached the 7th level of the Sun-Moon realm. Terrifying. The entire civilization was also being upgraded. When Su Yu was so tired that he wanted to die, 126 golden patterns appeared on the civilization. Soon, 127 golden patterns appeared with a boom. Advanced level of the Heavenly Soldier realm. Beginner level. Even so, the entire civilization was terrifyingly powerful. A high-grade heavenly weapon. There weren't any ancient artifacts that had such a heavenly weapon. The two civilization divine runes were also strengthening as their weapons advanced. In the end, Su Yu absorbed everything he could. Soon, only a drop of invincible blood essence was left. That drop of invincible blood essence from Gu Zhu was the blood essence of a living person. Su Yu wasn't in a hurry to absorb that drop of blood essence. It was useful. The next time he encountered this invincible essence blood, it might be of great use. He could shatter it instantly, shake his body, and then kill him. Powerful. Su Yu sighed with emotion. His clothes disappeared, and a white robe appeared instantly. He held a book in his hand, and his long hair fluttered slightly. At this moment, Su Yu's holy aura was overflowing. Looking at Yun Chen and the others, Su Yu held his hand and cupped his hand slightly. He smiled like a spring breeze. Fellow Taoists, greetings. Yun Chen and Lan Tian couldn't help but want to get close to him. Soon, they felt a chill in their hearts. They couldn't help but tremble as they looked at Su Yu. They felt that the world could no longer be at peace. This madman seemed to be too normal now. Normal enough to make people want to talk about their dreams and their future with him. Lan Tian said with some hidden bitterness, Can you teach me how to be so abnormal that people don't think I'm abnormal but instead feel very close to me? I want to learn. I'm waiting online. It's quite urgent. PM often rejected by everyone because I'm perverted. Can you tell me how to be so perverted that everyone doesn't reject me? Lan Tian suddenly felt inferior. I don't fit in with everyone. So it's because I'm not perverted enough. Su Yu smiled. Fellow Taoist Lan Tian, you must be joking. A scholar knows his manners and is born to be close to others. Reading more will be helpful to fellow Taoist. After saying that, he flipped open the book and opened a page. On the page of the immortals, he wrote, there are immortals among the 10,000 races. Their name is Xian He, and they are at the 5th level of eternity. They are good at striking the sky. At this moment, he was writing Xian He's epitaph with a holy and devout look on his face. As Su Yu was writing, he muttered, No, one still lack one thing. I lack a pen. A scholar uses his hands to write words. It's too sloppy. I also need a divine pen. Madman. Lan Tian roared in his heart again. You're AF * King Madman. The point is, one want to get close to you when I see you writing. It's too scary. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2700, Chapter 2700, Chapter 575, Level 8L. Chapter 2700, Chapter 575, Level 8L. Su Yu recorded the names of some important figures. They were good at cultivation techniques and their realms. Soon, the page of the celestial race was full of records. It's still lacking. The celestial race could be considered the most perfect, but they were still lacking quite a bit. Some of them were lacking in space, but under the lack of space, they were also lacking in invincibility. On the celestial side, Su Yu was still suppressing them, so he didn't kill them yet. As for the demon side, he didn't know if all of them had died on the Bloodfire Demon King side, or if Modwa had died as well. Su Yu wasn't too sure. If they died, so be it. If they didn't die, then their luck would be good. Su Yu and the others would be able to escape, but Modwa's side wasn't sure. Modwa might not be with the Bloodfire Demon King. There was no other reason. These two weren't in cahoots. With Madona's personality, Suyu felt that the probability of him hiding in the Blood-Fire Demon King's weapon or secret realm wasn't high. This guy had planned to go to the 8th level, but he didn't see him afterwards. He didn't know if he had gone alone. They had agreed to help Suyu obtain the 9-leaf Sky Lotus, but there had been too many battles. Even the Great Qin King had come out, so that guy might have escaped. And the head of the Sky Division. One wonder if he's dead or not. Suyu thought to himself. It was hard to say. What about this fellow? It was hard to say if they were friends. Even if he were to die, he wouldn't feel sorry for him. However, the other party had driven him crazy. How should he put it? It was a pity that his cultivation had reached such a stage, but at the crucial moment, it was a clash of three bodies. To be honest, regardless of whether he was helping the humans or the demons, at that time, an eternal 9 Dan was enough to decide the outcome of the battle. Yet, this fellow had clashed with himself. This was the most regretful part. Otherwise, the 9-leafed Sky Lotus might really have been snatched away by him. The three-body movement technique. Suyu muttered and closed the book. The flaws of the three-body movement technique were obvious. It was a pity that it seemed that everyone could only go this way. Just look at Lan Tian and the myriad Heaven Sage. There was no other way to go. Just as he was thinking, he heard Xingyue's cold snort. Suyu, PM leaving. Suyu turned his head and looked at Xingyue. He chuckled and said, "Sir, don't be anxious. If the Origin Convergence Saber is destroyed or taken away, Sir can leave at any time. If you don't take it away, it would be dangerous to go back now." As he spoke, he smiled and said, "It's rare to have such an opportunity. We're not in a hurry. If we don't take the passageway, it's not impossible to leave by taking the first floor. I'll think of a way. Sir, don't worry. If he didn't take this, he would take another path, such as the teleportation path." Suyu was thinking about how he could leave by himself. As he spoke, Suyu said, "I'll still want to go up to the 8th floor to take a look. The 8th floor, there might be living people there. Teacher Lu and the others are still there. I will go and see if there's anything I can help with." He had to go to the 8th floor. Lu Wenyan and Hong Tan were running around randomly. A weakling like two suns and moons running around everywhere, was he really not afraid of death? Beside him, Yun Chen said hesitantly, "You want to go to the 8th floor?" "Yuan, I'll go and take a look." Suyu smiled and said, "Thus, I'll have to trouble Senior Yun over here." After saying that, he looked at Lan Tian and said, "Senior Lan Tian, what mission did you come to the Starry Manor for this time? Are you just here to watch the show?" "What do you mean?" Lan Tian smiled, and Suyu also smiled and said, "Senior, you don't have too high a goal for some treasures right now, do you? The 9-leafed Sky Lotus is a supreme treasure. It's fine if Senior doesn't say it." Lan Tian chuckled. "Soon," he said, "all right, it's not nothing. Actually, I also want to go to the 8th level. The main reason why Heavenly Saint let me in this time is to let me go to the 8th level. I didn't have much hope. Heavenly Saint knows an ancient powerhouse who once lived here and wants me to find a way out. King Wen. One don't know him." Suyu indeed didn't know him, nor did he know him. He had never heard of him before. Lan Tian wasn't too familiar with him either. He smiled and said, "It's said that he's a big shot in the path of civilization. I'm not too sure about the exact situation either. I only know that the path of a civilized master is the limit and it reaches the sun and moon. It's hard to find it eternally. Heavenly Saint wants me to see if I can find something. The road ahead is hard. One can't help it." He sighed. The road ahead was indeed hard to walk. Was the Heavenly Saint strong enough? Very strong. The Heavenly Saint who hadn't attained the Tao could be considered as a 4th-stage Eternal Realm expert. That was why he was invincible and extremely powerful. But, that was all he could do. To the heavenly saint, this wasn't enough. Right now, he was only on par with Xia Longwu. Perhaps he still had a weakness. Xia Longwu had killed a 5th-stage Eternal Realm expert before, and Xia Longwu was still improving. As for the heavenly saint, he was at a bit of a dead end. King Wen. Suyu muttered, does King Wen have any road directions? Did the manor head say anything specific? No, he's not too sure either. However, he's been in charge of the Great Xia Civilization Academy for many years, and he once sought knowledge in the exploration realm. He discussed the Tao with many experts, and he roughly guessed that our multi-divine literature inheritance might come from King Wen's lineage. Wait. Suyu looked at him in surprise. What do you mean by our multi-divine literature department inheritance? Senior Lon Tian, you're always changing the department's inheritance. Lon Tian's face was calm. It's just a multi-divine literature department. More than 10 divine literature is a multi-divine literature department. How simple is that? I've already completed the outline of it when I was young. Of course, I'm too lazy to learn it. My main focus is on the transformation department. Beside him, Yun Chen sighed softly, your talent is not bad, it's a pity. Lon Tian interrupted, there's nothing to be sorry about. I think I'm doing very well now. Yun Chen did not say much. He was the senior brother of Myriad Heaven Sage. In fact, he was his teacher. In terms of seniority, he was actually a generation higher than Lon Tian. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2701, Chapter 2701, Chapter 575, Level 8 Requests for 2. Chapter 2701, Chapter 575, Level 8 Requests for 2. Lon Tian smiled and said, Little Suyu, let's go to Level 8 to take a look. As for these people, they can stay here. It's safer. Suyu smiled and said, Senior, can you go up? Of course. Lon Tian smiled sweetly and said, there's no place I can't go. Suyu had goosebumps from laughing. Pervert. Suyu said again, Senior, you've been complaining about being wronged before. Lon Tian laughed bitterly. Didn't you say that he's your friend? Don't you know the situation? Alright, as expected, Lon Tian himself knew a little. Suyu nodded. Senior's clone technique. Awesome. Even if I don't make a move, if Senior suffers a little more, perhaps that person will come out as well. Try not to alarm that person. It's too dangerous. Of course, can't you see that I'm not suffering anymore? Lon Tian forced a smile. I'm so miserable, but even if I don't say it, he's still afraid. That person is too strong. Now that the enemy is already dead, what if he suffers a little more and gets that person out? These two were well aware. What friend or no friend? It's just a vengeful spirit in the starry mansion. Don't provoke him, he won't differentiate between friend and foe. Suyu turned around and looked at the group of people who were still bathing. He thought for a moment and left behind a storage ring. Inside it were some heavenly river sand, water condensation beads, dragon blood fruit, and other treasures. Suyu handed the storage ring to Yun Chen. Senior, pass it to my master. If you can leave by yourself, then leave this place by yourself. Even if it's dangerous to go out through the proper passage, it's still better than following me. Suyu laughed and quickly said, Oh right, Senior, go out. If you're not the same as me and go out first. Suyu thought for a moment and said, everything was done by me. Senior, remember to remind those people in the outside world. There's no need to say anything more about the great Qin King. Just say that I colluded with the undead. After saying this, Suyu narrowed his eyes and said, I've already informed those seniors in advance. I'm not afraid of anything. If the 10,000 races dare to find trouble with me, feel free to try. The great Qin King is heavily injured, so it's better for you to stay out of it. Saying this, he looked at Bai Feng and the others and said again, this time, I might go back through the dead soul's realm. Just blame it on me. If there's nothing else, just blame it on Senior Lan Tian. Lan Tian said bitterly, I'm too weak. I don't believe it. One believe it. Senior can't be killed. Su Yu chuckled. Yun Chen wanted to say something, but he hesitated. Very quickly, he said, the dead soul's realm is dangerous. Although you have a good relationship with some dead souls, if you really go through the dead soul's realm, it's still very dangerous. Su Yu smiled and said, it doesn't matter. A skilled person is bold. Su Yu, dare to walk through the Starfall Mountain even when I'm in the recuperation stage. Now that I've reached this stage, what's there to be afraid of in the dead soul's realm? Then I'll escort you. There's no need. Su Yu smiled and said, Senior Yun is so strong and his qi and blood are too heavy. Only I am suitable to go alone. No one else is suitable. Then. Su Yu did not want to say anything more. Very quickly, he stepped out of the crack in the boundary wall. Blue Sky chuckled and followed him. Xingyue also followed him out with a cold face. Behind him, Yun Chen sighed. He looked at Bai Feng and the others who were still bathing, then looked at the storage ring that Su Yu gave him. He sighed. The multiple divine texts only brought disaster to Su Yu. As for Su Yu, he had never forgotten this lineage from the beginning to the end. On the 7th level, at the entrance of the Dead Soul Realm, Su Yu and the other two walked through the air and arrived. Su Yu didn't say anything. The blood divine text swept in all directions. In the air, wisps of weak blood were gradually condensed by him. Too many experts had died. Old Zhou didn't have any bloodthirsty hobbies. Very quickly, a drop of blood gradually took shape. Demon blood. Su Yu slightly raised his eyebrows. He had the blood essence of the Celestials and the blood essence of the Celestials. However, this was the first drop of the demon blood essence that he had obtained. It was not bad. He had even condensed a drop of the demon blood essence. Very quickly, the little hairy ball was taken out by Su Yu. Go and see if there is any carrier. This time, he had used almost all of Su Yu's carrier. He was willful when he had money. Anyway, he was not going to give it to anyone. His strength was the foundation. With his civilized will, if he were to throw it out now, he would break his head even if he was invincible. Of course, Su Yu did not leave nothing behind. He still kept the 2 dragon blood fruit trees. The small ones were difficult to use as carriers, but the big ones were not a big problem. It was just in case he needed them. Little Hairy Ball was a little reluctant, but he still went around to smell the fragrance. The carriers were also very sweet. Not long after, Little Hairy Ball returned with a green leaf on his head. He actually felt that there was still life. What is this? Su Yu was a little surprised. Was this a carrier? Lan Tian was quite knowledgeable. He took a look, he made a judgment and said, it might be the leaf of the ancient building origin wood. Rumor has it that in the ancient times, there was an incomparably huge building origin wood. It was extremely sturdy. Even the leaf could be used as a carrier. I wonder if this is it. Su Yu was surprised. Even the leaf could be used as a carrier. That tree had countless leaves. It's that powerful. It's just a rumor. Lan Tian looked at the leaf and smiled. It might not be true. Even if it is, it's impossible for every leaf to be a carrier. Su Yu understood. Just like old Zhou's nose hair, it was impossible for every leaf to be a carrier. Soon, Su Yu arrived at the entrance of the undead passageway. At this moment, there was not a single undead around him. The rules of this place seem to have been destroyed. Xing Yu looked at the undead passageway and said, actually, leaving from here now is the best choice. Few people will pay attention to this place. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2702, Chapter 2702, Chapter 575, Level 8, 10,000 Requests for 3. Chapter 2702, Chapter 575, Level 8, 10,000 Requests for 3. Su Yu smiled and said, "You're thinking too simply. Do you believe it or not? We're not far from here now. There are definitely countless undead watching us. The moment you enter, be careful not to be torn into pieces." Xing Yu looked at him suspiciously. "How do you know?" "Nonsense." Su Yu was speechless. There was such a huge change here. There were definitely undead coming. With your brain, it would come and go. Just wait here. Lord, don't run around. I will try my best to bring Lord out through the teleportation channel. This place is definitely not safe. Humph. Xing Yu snorted coldly. Su Yu did not say anything more. A cold snort meant that he understood. Understood. His gaze landed on the 8th floor's entrance. He was stunned for a moment. Where was the entrance? Strange. The entrance was here before, but where was the entrance now? Damn it, why was the entrance gone? He flew up and the blue sky quickly followed. The two of them searched in the air for a while, but they did not find it. Su Yu frowned. Suddenly, he took out a City Lord token and activated it. He said in a low voice, "Hongmeng Sacred City's City Lord Su Yu, if you have something to report to the council, please open the 8th floor passageway." The void was silent for a moment. A moment later, a door slowly opened as if it was hesitating. After confirming that the 7th floor was fine, the door was opened. A mechanical voice sounded, "Verify the identity." A moment later, a law energy swept across Su Yu's body. When it reached the Sea of Will, it seemed like it wanted to sweep through little hairy ball. However, when it reached the tombstone outside the Sea of Will, the power of law was suddenly disturbed. After a long while, a mechanical voice came from the void. The 4 City Lords of Hongmeng, Xing Hong, Yu Hong, and Cloud Sky City, Tomb Guards. Level 4 clearance, Level 3 area restricted. Su Yu was stunned. There was no problem with the first one, but what was behind it? Tomb Guards. Tomb. Tombstone. King of Literature. The tombstone couldn't be the tomb of King of Literature. If he obtained the Wenyo tombstone, he would be the tomb keeper. Su Yu was slightly stunned. What was this level 4 authority? The highest level was level 1. Also, was the one giving the orders the rules, or was it a living person? Su Yu's thoughts rose one by one as he asked, "Senior, are you the rules, or a living person?" "I have no comment." Su Yu was speechless. Why did he feel like a living person when he said this? To be honest, if he was a living person, that would be terrifying. I don't even dare to enter anymore. Very soon, Lan Tian also smiled and said, "The Dean of the Human Realm Heavenly Tao Academy, Lan Tian, returns to the council to report on his duties." Su Yu was stunned. Damn it, what was that? The power of rules also swept across Lan Tian's body. Very quickly, it reverberated mechanically, "The Dean of the Heavenly Tao Academy, Level 7 Authority." Lan Tian was unconvinced. How can that be? I'm the principal of the Heavenly Tao Academy. Su Yu is already at level 4, how can I be at level? No one cared. Lan Tian was still unconvinced. I've read about the Heavenly Tao Academy in the books. In ancient times, the Human Academy was a large organization that taught and educated people. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be any worse than some of the marquises, right? Why is it only level 7? Listen to the name, how domineering, how domineering. No one replied. Su Yu looked at Lan Tian strangely. Senior, does your authority mean that it's very low? Lan Tian snorted. Nonsense, just listen to the meaning and you'll know. Level 1 might be the highest, but isn't level 7 low? Su Yu shrugged. He was also puzzled. Was his authority high or low? Hongmeng City Lord, this position shouldn't be considered low, right? But the key point was this level 4 authority given by Hongmeng City Lord, or was it given by the Tomb Keeper? He couldn't understand. Su Yu knew too little about the ancient times. Also, Su Yu didn't know whether the 8th level was the circulation of the power of law, or whether it was a living person. He only knew a little. Be careful. It seemed to be quite dangerous. Su Yu looked at the pitch-black passage in front of him and then looked at Xingyue behind him. He warned, Sir, wait for me here. Don't run around. Humph. Xingyue was furious. Are you ordering me? Su Yu laughed and said, PM saying that I'm going to do something for Sir. Sir, wait for my good news here. I'll be back soon. Xingyue couldn't be bothered with him. Su Yu laughed and quickly stepped into the passageway. He and the blue sky stepped into the pitch-black passageway together. A moment later, his eyes lit up and he appeared in a large hall. An incomparably spacious hall. It was very large. At this moment, a mechanical voice sounded beside his ear, wait for the summons. Do not barge in without a summons. Su Yu was speechless. Was this for real? All the people on the 8th floor had died, and they were still calling. Who the hell would call me? This was a joke. Just as he was thinking, Blue Sky suddenly sniffled and pressed his hand on Su Yu's. He pointed at a dried-up mark on the ground and transmitted his voice, Kid, it seems to be blood, the fresh kind. Su Yu raised his eyebrows and quickly transmitted his voice to Harry Ball, let me smell whose blood it is. The little Harry Ball was reluctant. Recently, he had only asked him to work and did not give him any benefits. He had already lost some of his motivation. After sniffing it, he said lazily, it seems to be that blood-stained demon king's blood fire? I think so. It was weak. Su Yu's heart stirred slightly. Blood fire? Blood fire did not die. Su Yu frowned. This was an eternal 9 Dan, not to be trifled with. This fellow wasn't dead yet. As expected, at this stage, it was really difficult to kill him. Old Zhou actually didn't kill him. At this moment, the huge hall was shrouded in darkness. The surroundings seemed to be an endless void. No one knew who had built this damn place. Could it be that the people who had come to see him all those years ago had to wait here? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2703, Chapter 2703, Chapter 575, Level 8, 10,000 Requests for 4. Chapter 2703, Chapter 575, Level 8, 10,000 Requests for 4. How tragic. What a bureaucrat. All the experts who were able to come could be considered top figures, yet they were actually waiting in this godforsaken place. Su Yu didn't say anything. He activated the inward divine text to cover his body. Very quickly, he merged into the ground and disappeared, turning into the shadow of the blue sky. As for the blue sky, he was slightly uncomfortable. He transmitted his voice, you're giving me a lot of pressure, kid. I keep feeling like you're going to explode and kill me. How can that be? I'm not that kind of person. Yes, you are. PM not. Yes, you are. Alright, so you couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Soon, Blue Sky followed the direction of the blood that he had discovered earlier and determined the direction. In the darkness, he rushed in a certain direction. At this moment, they were all in this hall. And looking down from the 8th floor, this great hall stood at the corner of the 8th floor. It was an unremarkable corner, but it was very huge. On the 8th floor, there were countless mansions that stood in a forest. They were all incomparably huge, occupying an astonishing amount of land. It was not a random plan. In the middle of the 8th floor, a group of palaces that stretched for hundreds of miles formed a huge palace. There were no courtyard walls around the palace, only huge statues. They were carved with creatures of different shapes. There were huge lions, ferocious house, phoenixes that were about to fly, dragons that rode on clouds, immortals that stood on auspicious clouds, and gods and devils that could uproot mountains. In all directions, there were 99 statues that sealed the entire palace tightly. Below each statue, there was a closed palace door. In the sky above, a grand array appeared. Above the grand array, there seemed to be a person sitting cross-legged, suppressing everything. Above the palace, 2 gigantic words of will floated in the air. 10,000 worlds. Yes, 10,000 worlds. There were only these 2 words. Around the palace, numerous magnificent mansions surrounded it. King Wen's mansion. King Wu's mansion. King Zhan's mansion, King Ping's mansion, Divine Emperor's mansion, Devil Emperor's mansion. Immortal Emperor's mansion. Numerous mansions surrounded the palace. In the ancient times, all the half-emperors were half-emperors. Although they were half-emperors, they were also emperors. Therefore, their mansions were the royal mansions, the mansions of kings, and the mansions of kings. Outside these mansions and royal mansions were the mansions of marquises. Outside the myriad realm palace, outside the royal mansions and royal mansions, were the mansions of marquises. One of the mansions that wasn't too big was a letter written on it Heaven Overseeing Marquis Mansion. Yes, that was the mansion of Heaven Overseeing Marquis. Other than that, there were the mansions of some well-known conferred generals. On the 8th level, only the mansions of these people were at least conferred generals. Only at that level were they qualified to open mansions on the 8th level. Moreover, the conferred general mansion was the residence of some top-tier experts. There were also some marquises who didn't open mansions on the 8th level but opened mansions on the 7th level. Of course, there was another mansion on the 7th floor, Prince Gong's mansion. That was also the only mansion on the 7th floor, where the path to suppress the dead souls was located. Outside these mansions was the great hall where Su Yu and the others were located. It was like a gatehouse that stood on the outside. Only by entering here could one pass through the mansions and head to the Myriad Realm Palace. And just as Su Yu and the others were looking for an exit, outside the palace, a huge door led straight to the White Jade Avenue. At this moment, several people were gathered on the White Jade Avenue. Lu Wenyan and Hong Tan were on high alert as they looked at the few people in the distance. On the other side, Maudwa Na and the Sanguine Inferno Demon King were also there. After separating for some distance, they also looked at Hong Tan and Lu Wenyan. On the other side, it was actually the Long River of the Fated Clan. Su Yu didn't pay much attention to the disappearance of the Long River. He didn't expect the other party to reach the 8th level. There was another person who wore a half-golden mask. That was the symbol of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. The half-golden embellishment was familiar to Su Yu. This was the symbol of the law-enforcing elders, and it was also the quasi-invincible realm. There were 9 elders in the law-enforcing elders guild of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. The first elder was invincible, and the 3rd and 8th elders were dead. At this moment, this person was one of the remaining elders. Not far from him, there was an old man covered in golden light. He bared his teeth and smiled. His teeth were golden. He was a member of the Myriad Treasures Building, General Treasure's subordinate. 7 people. These 7 people had gathered on the 8th floor. At this moment, their expressions were grave. Especially when they looked at the Blood-Fire Devil King, their expressions were ugly. This person had actually arrived. They were somewhat surprised. Shouldn't the Blood-Fire Devil King be snatching treasures on the 7th floor? Why did he come to the 8th floor? The 8th floor had great opportunities, but it was also very dangerous. It was very easy to die here. It was normal for them to gamble once. When they were invincible, it would be abnormal for them to gamble once. Furthermore, they were already at Eternal 9 Dan. To gamble once would be foolish. It was too easy to die. They didn't care about the benefits on the outside, and they couldn't get the benefits on the inside. They might as well snatch the 9-leaf Sky Lotus on the 7th floor. The Bloodfire Devil King had just arrived not too long ago. At this moment, his face was cold and indifferent. He didn't make a move. 2 of his bodies had fallen, his physical body had been destroyed, and his sea of consciousness had been damaged. Of course, with his strength, even if he was severely injured, he would still be able to deal with a few quasi-invincible experts. However, the strongest expert in this area might not be him, but the fated clan's Changhe. This was an expert who was as famous as Zhou Yue and the others. Bloodfire had also forgotten about this fellow's existence. He didn't expect that he would come to the 8th floor. As for the others, Bloodfire Demon King wasn't too worried. As for Madhua Na, he didn't pay too much attention to him. This fellow had run away earlier. Once the battle started, he saw that there wasn't much hope of snatching the treasure, so he ran to the 8th floor. He didn't expect that these people would be here to confront him before he came. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2704, Chapter 2704, Chapter 575, Level 85. Chapter 2704, Chapter 575, Level 85. It could be said that this was the first time everyone was on the 8th floor. Everyone was unfamiliar with this place. They didn't dare to run around or move around. If they weren't careful, they could easily die. The group of people didn't make a sound. At this moment, the Bloodfire Demon King had come up. Everyone was extremely vigilant as they wondered what was happening below. Did the Bloodfire Demon King take the 9-leaf Sky Lotus? Was he injured? They felt that his aura was a little weak. Was he injured and failed to snatch the treasure, or did he succeed in snatching the treasure and come to the 8th level to take refuge? The ones who were the most nervous were probably Lu Wenyan and Hong Tan. The 2 of them had come up for a day, but they had not walked far. They were extremely careful every step of the way, afraid that something would go wrong. At this moment, time passed in the eyes of the Ming clan's Long He. He said softly, "Lord Bloodfire, do not use force here lightly. This is where the ancient parliament used to be. The power of law is densely packed. If you use force, it will very easily trigger the power of law." The Bloodfire Demon King said coldly, "Long River, one don't need your guidance." He didn't look at these people, nor did he care about the 2 humans. Although he hated the humans now, the 8th level was dangerous. If he didn't make a move here, he wouldn't make a move. If he made a move, it would easily expose his true situation. The current him could still intimidate others, but if he made a move and his strength was exposed, it might lead to some chaos. Even now, he still had lingering fear in his heart. He had almost died. Su Yu's group might not have died yet, but that terrifying existence might have been lured out by Su Yu. That guy wouldn't die with him, so they might still be alive. He had to enter the 8th level as soon as possible and find a place to hide so that those people wouldn't catch up to him. He wasn't the same as before. Before, even the great Qin King would find it difficult to kill him. But now, forget it. A blood-red light flashed in the Bloodfire Demon King's eyes, and soon, a token appeared. It was his identity token. He held the token in his hand and looked around. The power of laws covered the entire void. This damned place did not have a fixed identity, and it was filled with danger everywhere. He did not linger and quickly walked along the edge of the white jade path. Yes, the edge. He was only a general. He was not even as good as a general, even if he was just a random general. According to the level of authority, the human emperor was naturally the highest, level 1. The civil king and martial king were half a level higher, but they were all level 2. The half-emperors and human kings of all races were level 3. The powerful ones who were conferred nobility had level 4 authority, while the titled general only had level 5 authority. The random general had level 6 authority. The general of the Blood Fire Demon King was about the same as the dean of the academy in Blue Sky. He was the highest level below a general. Level 7 power. Below that, there were levels 8 and 9, and those below were not qualified to come to the 8th level. Level 7 power was not too low, and just happened to be at the boundary between the ancient ruling stage and the ruled stage. On the outside, they were all generals. And Su Yu's Hongmeng city lord was actually not at level 4. Even according to Old Turtle's identity back then, he was only at level 5 power. However, he carried the tombstone and had level 4 power. Obviously. Back then, the guards of the tombstone were all conferred rank experts. The Blood Fire Demon King did not care about others. He only had level 7 authority. According to the information he knew, he could not go to an area that was 3 ranks higher. For example, an conferred rank expert was a level 4 expert. He could not go there. He could go to the outer area of the conferred general's residence. As for Su Yu, he had level 4 authority and could not go to the 9th level. Similarly, he could not go to the Myriad Realm Palace without being summoned. The Myriad Realm Palace's authority was also very high. Most of the others could go. At this moment, Su Yu still didn't know all of this. He was too young, so he hadn't had the time to understand the matters of the ancient times. The Blood Fire Devil King continued forward, his eyes flickering with a blood-red light. When he passed by Lu Wenyan and the others, killing intent faintly rose in his eyes. Lu Wenyan's expression changed slightly, and at this moment, his aura also skyrocketed, instantly reaching the peak of the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm. That's right, divine text. It was the last divine text of Yibadian. Previously, he had already exploded it, but he had given one to Wuxia and left it with her. This time, for the sake of the 8th level, he was also worried that he would encounter danger, so he took the last divine text from Wuxia. And this one, he actually didn't plan to use it previously. At this moment, he knew that even if he was at the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm, he would still be easily crushed to death by the Blood Fire Demon King. However, he was still unwilling to be crushed to death by others, and was prepared to fight to the death. Breaking the rules of this place would bring bad luck to the Blood Fire Demon King. As for the Blood Fire Demon King, when he saw that he was about to madly attack the rules of this place, he cursed in his heart. F***ck off. If this king was at his peak, would I be afraid of you if you attacked? No matter how strong the rules were, the outer rules wouldn't be able to do anything to him. But now, forget it, he was a lunatic. One didn't intend to kill you at all, so why do you look like you're going all out? You've really triggered the rules. I've been seriously injured, and my trump card has been exposed. I'm at least an eternal 9 Dan, and those fellows outside might covet my sea of consciousness and other treasures. Leave. The Blood Fire Demon King wasn't interested in fighting with them to the death. Although Lu Wenyan was Su Yu's master, and his injuries were all caused by Su Yu, he wanted to kill him in passing. However, if his life was involved, then forget it. The Blood Fire Demon King said coldly, laughable. With a look of disdain, a look of contempt, and an attitude of contempt, the Blood Fire Demon King walked away. Childish. I am a dignified eternal 9 Dan, how can I be on the same level as you? Laughable fellow. He left with a look of contempt, and Lu Wenyan's heart that was hanging in the air finally settled down. It's too damn dangerous. I'm scared to death. He watched the other party leave but didn't dare to say anything. That was a peerless expert who was on the same level as the strongest human expert. No matter how arrogant Lu Wenyan was, he didn't dare to be arrogant with such a fellow. After watching him leave, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. He left. It was too terrifying. The Blood Fire Demon King's eyes were too high. He actually didn't kill them. He was too lucky. Just as they were thinking about it, the doors of the Great Hall suddenly opened and the blue sky floated out. However, no one recognized him. Everyone had strange expressions on their faces. Who was this? They couldn't help it. Blue Sky's appearance and aura were constantly changing. They really couldn't recognize him in such a short period of time. As for Blue Sky, when he saw the few of them, he was also slightly startled. Very quickly, he bared his teeth and said with a smile, "Oh, my little cuties, they're all here. Did you see the blood fire? Where did my cute blood fire go?" Lan Tian. He recognized them. Lu Wenyan also heaved a sigh of relief and said hurriedly, "Senior Lan." When Lan Tian saw them, he said with a faint smile, "It's the two of you. Where's Bloodfire? Did you see him? Bloodfire Demon King, he just left. Oh, this son of a B***TCH is seriously injured. He ran quite fast. It seems that one have to look for him. Let's kill him first." The group of people were stunned. What? Kill who? Kill the Bloodfire Demon King? Kill this peerless expert? What kind of joke was this? As for Blue Sky, he chuckled and said, "What's wrong? Is there a problem with killing him? Changhe, you can also kill him. I've judged that that fellow's strength is probably less than 1%. He's dead for sure." Changhe was slightly stunned. He thought of the Bloodfire Demon King's weakness and the figure that left in a hurry. His eyes were deep as he said, "The Bloodfire Demon King is injured. Did something happen on the 7th floor?" Lan Tian chuckled and said, "Of course, the 7th floor is fun. Invincible is dead, let me calculate, he's about 30 years old." The group of people were stunned. There were less than 30 invincible people in total, right? Dead? Stop fooling around. How was that possible? The Heaven Hunting Pavilion elder said in a deep voice, "Where's my department head?" Him. Lan Tian chuckled and said, "He's dead, right? I'm not too sure. He's either dead or crippled. He either came to the 8th floor or entered the dead soul realm. I'm not sure about the specific situation. It's too tragic." The group of people felt their hearts palpitate. Madhua Na couldn't help but ask, "Su Yu did this?" What he said. Su Yu, who was pretending to be a shadow, was speechless. "Xiao Mo, your misunderstanding of me is too deep. This is a level 9 eternal realm. Whether they die or not, what does it have to do with me?" Su Yu made a judgment. "Should I kill all the people here? Should I kill all of them? It shouldn't be too difficult, right?" Su Yu made a judgment. Changhe's strength wasn't weak, probably about the same as his current strength. Maybe he was a little weaker, but Changhe was probably not weaker than Xia Longwu, who hadn't reached the Tao. He might even be stronger, so it might not be easy to kill him. As for the other two, Su Yu wasn't afraid. As for Madonna, this grandson seemed to have a teleportation talisman that could ignore space. The chances were that it would be useless. If he saw me, he would probably run away. I can kill the Heaven Hunting Pavilion and the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. These two are just ordinary quasi-invincible, right? Su Yu thought to himself, why don't I just kill these two? The more people, the more hindrance. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2705, Chapter 2705, PV found you in Chapter 576. L. Chapter 2705, PV found you in Chapter 576. L. The 8th floor. It was said to be the residence of some big shots. Su Yu was still very interested. Of course, what he was more interested in was, which part of Zhou's body was this? According to his calculations, it was his legs. But, whose legs were like this? Or could it be that Zhou's 2 legs had split apart, and straightened, forming a T-shape? If that was the case, then the 8 layers would definitely be very long. With his 2 long legs split apart, old Zhou had maintained this posture for countless years. If he really came back to life in the future, would he still be able to walk normally? At this moment, Su Yu couldn't help but think. Because old Zhou was too strong. Such a strong expert had been reduced to this state by Mount Tai. Even if Su Yu didn't know this Mount Tai and had never seen this Mount Tai before, he still felt that this grandpa was really ruthless. To kill someone, he could only nod his head. How much hatred and resentment did he have to bear? Soon, his thoughts turned elsewhere and to the few people present. Were there anyone else on the 8th level? Lu Laoshi and the others should have been here for some time, so why were they still at the periphery? At this moment, Su Yu's clone was silently observing the surroundings. He activated the Calamity character and carefully sensed the surroundings. Soon, he discovered something. In the air, he could vaguely feel the power of laws. The 8th level had very heavy laws. Power of laws. Su Yu was quite familiar with this. From the looks of it, the 8th level might have some laws that could not be touched. Senior Lan Tian, kill the others and go find Shuehua as soon as possible. He should be heavily injured. Lan Tian did not reply. He chuckled and suddenly disappeared on the spot. Rumble. With a loud sound, the wealthy old man from the Myriad Treasures building quickly retreated and shouted in a low voice, Lan Tian, don't go crazy. This is the location of the ancient parliament. If Wu act rashly here, Wu will be punished by the laws. Hee, I'm not afraid. Lan Tian snickered. The old man was extremely depressed. Gritting his teeth, he suddenly slapped out in all directions. In the next moment, a large law hand grabbed towards them. It was a large hand formed from the power of laws, and it instantly fell towards the 2 of them. The old man wanted to let Lan Tian, this madman, know that if he triggered the laws here, he would be easily killed. This is only the outermost area. Lan Tian, wake up. The rich old man roared furiously. At this moment, the large hand of laws was incomparably powerful. Even the power of time was unable to stop it. Lan Tian also had the intention to test the strength of the punishment as he slammed his palm towards the large hand. With a bang, Lan Tian took a step back. Some blood was cut out from his hand. The rich old man was naturally inferior to Lan Tian. After being struck by the large hand, he fell to the ground with a bang and spat out fresh blood. He knew that the power of the rules was powerful, but it still caused a disturbance of the rules. This was to let Lan Tian understand that if a great battle broke out, he would also be punished by the power of the rules if he killed him. Lan Tian, this is only a private fight. Once a life and death battle occurs, the power of the rules will be even stronger than it is now. In ancient times, the 8th level was where the big shots were located. They were not allowed to fight everywhere. There were rules for all of this, and the punishment was extremely harsh. The wealthy old man coughed up blood and said, I have no enmity with you. If you insist on killing me, you will also be heavily injured. Why is there a need for that? He was also helpless because of this madman. Normal people would not do things that were difficult and unrewarding, but Lan Tian was abnormal. Lan Tian cackled. That's it. That's not enough. It seems like you can't kill me. Heavily injuring me. I'm not afraid. In the blink of an eye, 7 or 8 blue skies appeared around him. As for Shadow Suyu. After considering it for a moment, it made sense. There were so many blue skies clones, why would I still pretend to be a shadow? In the next moment, Shadow Suyu transformed into a middle-aged man. He looked like Zhao Ming from back then, and he was also mixed in with the clones. A lot of blue skies clones had been killed, and there were still quite a few left. It had to be said that this fellow was also a mass murderer. The expression of the wealthy old man changed slightly, and he cursed inwardly as he quickly fled into the depths of the White Jade Avenue. Unlucky. He had stepped on dog shit when he went out, yet he had encountered such a lunatic. The doppelganger stopped him, and the wealthy old man instantly threw out over a dozen treasures. He was really rich, to think that all of them were at the Earth Soldier level. They all charged towards the doppelganger, and the old man carefully turned left and right as he ran towards the White Jade Avenue. The White Jade Avenue was still a bit dangerous, and there was quite a bit of law energy pervading it. In the ancient times, there would have been emissaries to receive them in the reception hall. Now, the 8th floor was already empty, so there was no emissaries left. They could only rely on themselves to go deeper. The old man had just run less than 100 meters when a law energy blocked his way. Previously, the Blood Fire Demon King was fine, but he was stopped. The law energy directly penetrated his body, and his flesh and blood instantly became blurry. The old man didn't care about this anymore. He ran first. Nearby, Madwa Na, Chang He, and the second elder of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion weren't interested in fighting with this madman, Lan Tian. They all walked forward, and as soon as Lan Tian arrived, the short-lived peace was disturbed. The old man gritted his teeth. The river of time was torn apart, and he stepped 100 meters forward. The river trembled, and he was suppressed by the law energy. He didn't care about this anymore. Run first. The blue sky clone followed closely behind. Suddenly, a middle-aged man's clone appeared behind him. The old man could not be bothered to care. The blue sky clone was not weak, but it was difficult to kill him. It was not a big deal to be punched. He had to run far first. Behind him, Suyu had a strange look in his eyes. Give it to me to kill. The current quasi-invincibility did not have any sense of danger. Even though I used the silence word to block your sense of danger, it was still quasi-invincibility, right? Did he really not know? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2706, Chapter 2706, Chapter 576 Found You. 2. Chapter 2706, Chapter 576 Found You. 2. Beat me up. Then I'll beat you up. Not to mention, at this point, Suyu really hadn't used his full strength to beat anyone up. Thinking of this, Suyu punched out. Mountain Suppressing Fist. A martial arts technique with multiple divine runes was punched out. The rich old man's expression suddenly changed drastically. The fatal threat made his hair stand on end. He screamed, "No, I have the method to open General Duobao's residence." Boom! With a punch, the rich old man was torn apart. The river of time trembled. In the next moment, a youth-like figure appeared. It was the youth-like figure of the old man from before. At this moment, his face was deathly pale. It was impossible. The blue sky couldn't be this strong. This wasn't the destructive power of quasi-invincibility. Just as he was thinking about it, he kicked out, causing the river of time to tremble. With a bang, the river of time broke. With a kick, the youth was torn apart. At the same time, a book appeared and instantly took in everything, including a vessel. The blood essence and body were all taken in by Suyu. Soon, a small head image appeared on the page of the Immortals. Su Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. It was from the Immortals. It was said that the myriad treasures building was related to the gods and demons. It was true that the Immortals were among them. One of them almost escaped. The setting sun had fallen. On both sides of the great Tao, everyone who was about to leave was stunned for a moment, and they all looked at Su Yu. As for Su Yu, he was leisurely holding a book and comforting the law energy that was sweeping over him. This was a punitive law energy, and killing someone here would be punished. However, Su Yu could also see that the punishment was not too strong. It was probably at the level where it could kill quasi-invincibility. It was probably because this was the outer area. Above invincibility, it should not be casually punished and killed. Su Yu used one Mingji to block it for a while, then let the big rule hand pinch him. With a creak, it squeezed his body until it emitted light. At this time, the power of the rule dissipated. As for Su Yu, he rubbed his arm and said emotionally, terrifying, it even squeezed my arm until it swelled. Silence. Absolute silence. Changhe, second elder, and Modwa were all shocked. Was this, still a human? Su Yu. Modwa revealed a shocked expression. In the next moment, without saying anything, he activated a jade talisman and instantly disappeared from his original spot. In the distant void, one could see the law of resistance. He had probably teleported tens of thousands of meters away. Modwa's shadow flashed in the distant void and disappeared in an instant. Su Yu was speechless. Why are you running? We are partners. In the distance, Modwa did not even look back. He quickly landed on the ground and disappeared into the huge mansion. F*CKU. Modwa was almost shocked to death. This fellow was so powerful that he was terrifying. Previously, it was still normal. Killing a quasi-invincible was something that took a long time. Now, it was easy to kill a quasi-invincible. Forget about that. Under normal circumstances, a quasi-invincible expert would be crushed to death. On the other hand, Su Yu's arm was swollen. Screw you. Modwa didn't dare to talk about cooperation with him. Cooperation was built on a certain foundation. For example, the previous time. But now. What a joke. Su Yu's strength had soared. Under such circumstances, what kind of cooperation did he need? There was no need for that. Since that was the case, why not run? Not too far away, the long river opened up a time passageway. Ignoring the danger, he forcefully teleported himself away and vanished from the spot. At the same time, the second elder of the heaven hunting pavilion bellowed as a small boat appeared beneath his feet. It floated in the air and swiftly escaped from the long river of time and space. The two of them were incomparably shocked. Holy shit! Was this Su Yu? Was he that terrifying? He killed almost unrivaled like a chicken. It was too terrifying. Even though Changhe was powerful and unrivaled in battle, at that moment, he saw the scene of his death in the long river of fate. Yes, the scene of him being killed by Su Yu shocked him so much that he didn't dare to stay any longer. He quickly disappeared. It was too F***ing terrifying. Even if he had to pay a price, Changhe still wanted to separate from Su Yu. Behind him, Su Yu's white robe was as white as snow. He was floating in the air with a smile on his face. He chuckled and said, "Take care, you too. Don't be anxious. I'm not going to kill you too. If we get out, I hope that you too can put in a few good words for me, Su Yu. I've only killed over 1,000 people. The rest were not killed by me, they were all killed by bloodfire." The two of them ran faster than rabbits. As for the rest, they didn't care at all. They knew that something big might have really happened on the 7th floor. Su Yu. Su Yu, this madman, was terrifyingly powerful. They didn't know how Su Yu did it, but they all understood and were even horrified. The incomparably young Su Yu might really have invincible combat strength now. This was too terrifying. Chang He and the others, who didn't have countless years of accumulation to have their current strength. The human race was indeed terrifyingly terrifying. After they left, Lan Tian said faintly, "Aren't you going to chase after them?" Su Yu smiled and said, "There's no rush. If you can kill them, then kill them. If you can't kill them, then forget it. Let them go out and advertise. There aren't many living people left." There weren't many living people left. They had to go out and share the pressure for the human race, right? At the same time, they had to spread the word that Su Yu was here. Anyway, these people didn't know anything. Killing that rich old man was just to let these people see how strong they really were. The great Qin King. The great Qin King didn't come again. Now, there was still someone who knew. Xuehua, killing Xuehua, take the blame for everything. At the very least, one still have the ancient city to rely on. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2707, Chapter 2707, Chapter 576 has found you. 3. Chapter 2707, Chapter 576 has found you. 3. Otherwise, if news of the great Qin King were to leak out, it would be a huge problem. In any case, the myriad races in the heavens have long wanted to kill me. Just get used to it. A faint smile appeared on Su Yu's face. Soon, he turned around to look at the dazed Lu Wenyan and Hong Tan, and a brilliant smile immediately appeared on his face. "Teacher Lu, Grand Teacher, did you miss me?" Hong Tan and Lu Wenyan were still staring at him in a daze. "We are both knowledgeable people. Our master was once invincible in the battle of the sun and the moon, and he was truly invincible in the battle of the sun and the moon. Currently, there weren't many experts who were invincible in the battle of the sun and the moon, so what kind of grand occasion have we not seen before? But Su Yu is Ling Yun, right? This invincible accuracy is really like killing a chicken. What did you eat to suddenly become so powerful?" Lu Wenyan looked at him in a daze. "Is there a problem with the fifth cut?" Su Yu was speechless and brought this up again. "Teacher, there's a problem with the fifth cut." "Alright, I'm Su Yu." I wasn't, I could crush you with a finger." Lu Wenyan's expression changed. He felt that something wasn't right. What did this mean? He looked at Su Yu and then at Blue Sky. Since he came with Blue Sky, there was a high probability that it was the real Su Yu. However, Lu Wenyan could not help but ask, "How are you so strong?" Su Yu chuckled and said, "Teacher taught me well. Of course I'm strong. Speak human language." "Ahem, simple. Open 360 yuan aperture, 72 yuan body, 8 changes in vitality. Isn't it normal for me to be stronger?" "Normal?" Lu Wenyan thought silently. Was it really normal? *CK your grandpa. It wasn't normal at all. A normal person wouldn't be able to do what you said. Mentally tired. There were traces of strength. Lu Wenyan calculated slightly. If it was as Su Yu said, this fellow's strength was terrifying. "Why did you come to the 8th floor?" Lu Wenyan asked, "Where are the others?" Su Yu smiled and said, "They're fine." "Teacher, why are you and Grand Teacher running around? It's so dangerous here. Quasi-Invincible's death is worse than a dog's. Invincible's death is only slightly better than a dog's. Why did you two come to the 8th floor for nothing? Are you looking down on us, or are you worried about us?" Hong Tan was helpless and didn't want to say anything. As for Lu Wenyan, he said indifferently, "What do you know? It's not enough to be strong here. No matter how strong you are, can you be stronger than a half-emperor? Here, It's not about your own strength, but the rules, status, and rank. I have level 5 authority here. At this point, Lu Wenyan revealed a smile and said, "You don't understand. Level 5 authority is equivalent to the authority of some conferred generals in ancient times. Do you know what a conferred general is?" Suyu smiled and said, No, I understand. A conferred general is not as powerful as a marquis, right? Old Tortoise Hong Meng is a conferred general. Teacher, don't forget, I am the city lord of Hong Meng City. Level 5 authority is nothing. Lu Wenyan was stunned for a moment and could not help but curse in his heart. He had really forgotten. Suyu quickly smiled and said, "Moreover, I am a level 4 authority, not a level 5 authority." Lu Wenyan was stunned for a moment. Before he could ask, Lan Tian suddenly said angrily, "Why are you a level 5 authority? I am the dean of the Heavenly Tao Academy, why am I only a level 7? This." Lu Wenyan glanced at Lan Tian and said awkwardly, "You were conferred the title by Mansion Master Wan, right?" Lu Wenyan said embarrassedly, "Mansion Master Wan seems to have inherited the functions of a miscellaneous general. He can only confer you a lower rank at most. On my side, before my master died, he gave me the functions that he inherited back then, so my rank is slightly higher." Blue Sky was depressed. As for Suyu, he asked curiously, "The 5th generation inherited the position of a conferred general?" Lu Wenyan nodded. Hong Tan hurriedly said, "Is that Bloodfire really injured? Let's not talk about this for now. If he's really seriously injured, quickly find a chance to kill him. Otherwise, he can obtain great benefits in this place at any time. If he recovers from his injuries, then he'll be in big trouble. You two are even catching up. Hurry up and kill the bloody fire." Suyu smiled. "Grandmaster, there's no rush. We should at least understand the rules of this place. There were too many experts in the ancient times, so setting the rules would make it easy for us to offend them. We wouldn't even know how we died." That was true. Hong Tan and Lu Wenyan quickly explained some things that they understood. Simply put, the two of them had come up this time to go to King Wen's residence. Of course, there was a high probability that they wouldn't be able to go. It was said that King Wen's manor was located in the deepest part of the manor. According to the rules, one could enter a level 1 area. However, just because one was allowed to enter, it didn't mean that one could move around recklessly. In reality, if one were to go beyond a level 4 area, there would be countless troubles. If one were to be careless, they would be done for. Suyu listened quietly. As he thought, he nodded. According to what they said, Suyu's activities in the manor's area weren't too dangerous. If he didn't take the initiative to cause trouble, the rules wouldn't do anything to him. However, once he left the manor's area, he had to be careful. Understood. Suyu nodded and said, "Teacher, do you know if the voice when he entered the door was the power of the rules or if it was a living person?" "I'm not sure." Lu Wenyan quickly said, "My master came to the 8th level back then, but when he came, his strength wasn't too strong. He didn't explore many things clearly. As for whether the person guarding the door was a rule or a living person, he didn't have the strength to investigate." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2708, Chapter 2708, Chapter 576 Found You. 4. Chapter 2708, Chapter 576 Found You. 4. Yi Badian had been to the 8th floor. It wasn't strange, but it wasn't strange at all. However, it was still a little strange. Suyu had experienced the 8th floor. Without the strength of a few levels of the sun and moon, it would be very difficult for him to come up. How did Yi Badian come up? Or rather, when he came up, he was already at several levels of the sun and moon. When did Yi Badian come up? On the 8th level, very few people came up, and very few people left alive. Yi Batian was quite brave. At this moment, Suyu actually did not want to explore. Because there was danger. He wanted to leave now more. His main purpose of coming up was still to find Lu Wenyan and the others. If he found them, it would be best if he could kill Shuehua, but if he could not, then forget it. However, his teacher and grand teacher seemed to have some ideas. Suyu asked, then teacher came up this time just to look for something. To look for King Wen's things. Lu Wenyan explained, L didn't specifically look for anything. I just wanted to see if there were any methods to advance to invincible, or to advance to civilized master. He looked at Suyu and said, our lineage doesn't walk the path of the physical body after all. Suyu nodded. Yes, that's right. We are all scholars, so we still have to walk the path of civilization. The path of the fighter is too easy to improve, there is no challenge at all. I can now beat the invincible. F*CKU. Get lost. Lu Wenyan roared in his heart, get lost. He knew that he could not talk to a bastard like you. His words hurt his heart, and it was very uncomfortable. We don't walk the path of the physical body. On one hand, it's because the physical body is indeed weak. On the other hand, the path of the physical body mostly depends on resources. The path of civilization actually depends on one's comprehension ability and ability to comprehend. The amount of resources consumed is less. Whether it's the advancement of the divine text or the outline, in most cases, it depends on one's comprehension ability and luck. It's very difficult to rely on resources to forcefully pile up. However, if it really happened naturally, the consumption would also be low. Suyu, on the other hand, spoke too harshly. This brat had used up countless resources and forcefully increased his physical body to such an extent. It could only be said that, he was rich and willful. On the other hand, his talent was also really strong. Although the path of the physical body was a little simpler, Suyu was different from ordinary fellows. Regardless of whether it was the awakening of the body or the casting of the body, they had both reached a limit that almost no one could surpass. Even in ancient times, there were people who had opened the heavenly cycle aperture. However, there were almost no people who had opened the heavenly cycle aperture at the same time and cast their physical body 72 times. The 72 times casting of the physical body was not something that humans could accomplish. The 72 times casting of iron represented everything. Suyu did not want to hurt his teacher anymore. He smiled and said, then let's go and take a look. Teacher and Grandmaster should go down now. I'll go and look for them. It's still very dangerous up there. It's safer on the 7th floor. Lu Wenyan frowned and said, with more people, more power. You're Grand Teacher and I won't hold you back. If we really encounter any trouble, you don't have to care about us. Suyu sighed and said, you're right. With the two of you here, how can I not care? You're already so old, how can you talk like this? If I don't want to talk to you, you're just finding us weak. Lu Wenyan cursed in his heart. This old man is already at the 4th level of the Sun-Moon realm. I originally wanted to ask you if you're afraid, but now, forget it, I don't want to mention it anymore. My heart is tired. At the side, Lon Tian was observing something. At this moment, he tilted his head and chuckled. Let's go, kid. Don't waste time with these two fellows. The probability of the Blood and Fire Authority isn't high. If we want to go, we should probably go to some demon clan mansions. I've observed the distribution of these residences for a moment. There should be a pattern. There's a dense demonic aura over there. It might be the demon clan's territory. Let's go. Suyu looked at Lu Wenyan and the others. Teacher, you can either wait for me here or find a place to hide. I'll go kill Shuehua before returning. As for retrieving the treasure, I can't do it this time. I'll come again next time. Don't be anxious. After saying that, Suyu smiled and said, soon. Other people open this place once every 10 years. If I'm strong enough, I can open it at any time. There's no need to rush. In any case, it's not the time for me to advance to a civilized master yet. The two of them were surprised. They could enter at any time. The two of them didn't ask much and thought for a moment. Lu Wenyan quickly said, then you have to be careful. Shuehui is, after all, a top-notch expert among the invincible. Even if he's injured, it's not that easy to kill him. The treasure can be taken at any time. You're right. Your grandmaster and I won't cause you any more trouble, but remember one thing. Don't go near the parliament. I don't know. My master said it once back then. I remember it. As for the specific reason, I didn't ask back then. All right. Suyu didn't say anything more. Soon, he and Blue Sky stepped onto the White Jade Avenue. When these two fellows disappeared in front of Lu Wenyan and the others, Lu Wenyan said with some hidden bitterness, damn it, this kid. Junior brother, are we losing face again? Hong Tan nodded, he sighed. That's right. In the past, we could at least suppress them a little. Now, forget it. Senior brother, I think we should just look for some opportunities in the outer area to strengthen our strength. Don't think too much about other things. Thinking about the two of them, he carefully groped around here for a long time. When Suyu came, groping for what? I'm incomparably powerful. I'm rampaging around. I still have to go kill the Blood Fire Demon King. How could he have the time to be like the two of you, slowly dawdling here? Helpless, Lu Wenyan also had a sorrowful look on his face. Now, he was getting worse and worse compared to this kid. Forget it, listen to junior brother. Please just wander around the outer area for a while.